Hey, Steph. Hey, PK. Hey, Chunch. Hey, Wanderer. Hey, second to last unicorn. Barney. Puncho. Emerald Skies. Jody. MB. Frederick Honeychurch. Thanks, Barney. Hi, Bunny Star. Hi, Casey. I think she might want to help me play. Hey, Rock. Hey, Marina. Hey, Strawberry Punch. But he genuinely caught me crying. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people... That one hit a lot of people really hard. Because he was Batman. You know? Yeah. Hey, Teddy Bear. Maybe later, Chantal. Or maybe later, Casey. Maybe later. I thought I said hi, Rock. Didn't I say hi, Rock? So, Sam messed up my keyboard. Hey, Hamburger Eyes. Hey, Give More Blood. Hey, Shirley. Yeah, you can tell me something, Barney, sure. So last night, Sam jumped up onto my desk and onto my keyboard and tore the A key right off the my laptop keyboard. Aw, thanks, Initizzy. Hi, Toe Dance. Not the... Yeah. Dang, Sam. You know, like... Sam, I like you, but... Don't screw up my keyboard. Hey, Josie. Still works. Sort of. Like the, because underneath a key is like just a little button you can push. So like the thing under the key still works, but I will probably end up needing to like mostly take the key off. Like anytime I'm going to be typing using my laptop keyboard, which I usually use, I do have a keyboard that I plug in, because I find it more comfortable. So I usually use that keyboard. I have whenever I've got my camera plugged in, I need to unplug either my mouse or my keyboard. I usually unplug my keyboard. So whenever I've got my camera plugged in, I have my mouse or my keyboard unplugged. So I have to use the... Hi, Celtic? Not totally sure what you just said, Celtic. What kind of game is this? It is a visual novel, Barney. Oh, what did I eat today? Leftovers. I just had this. I just had leftovers from last night. I'm not a gamer, but half Scottish and Irish. Cool. Where's Hermit? I don't know. Where's Zach? I don't know. I don't know where they are. It is one of Sam's toes that messed up my keyboard. Half past midnight? Okay, fine. Good night, Forna. Breakfast and second breakfast. I had an apple. I had an apple when I got up. Chantel had bought a bunch of apples before she left. Hey, Shiara. So, I had one of those. Thanks, DG. In fairness, this one isn't so much a game as it is just like a story. Do you say John Waters is a hero of mine? I've never paid any attention to John Waters, honestly. Call my streams bad at gaming. Ouch! Lose so much weight. We'll see. I am not betting on it, Hamburger Eyes. Do I watch her lives? I don't actually watch her lives. I probably should watch... Like, I probably should watch him a little bit just to catch up. How am I doing? Yeah, I'm okay. Like, I probably should watch bits and pieces of it just to sort of get caught up and everything, but... I never seem to bother. It's... You know what? It's because I've known her for so long. Hey, Athena. I've known her for so long, and I know her so well, I just don't see a need. You know? Eat an apple and only dinner. Well, Hamburger Eyes, in addition to that, like, chocolate covered raisins, I got some chips, so I also eat snacks, Hamburger Eyes. Hey, Anonymous. So yeah, it's... Will I lose weight? Probably not much. Because I also still, like, I don't do anything. You know? Check into Audible books and how you could professionally read and record books. Yeah, not sure if you've mentioned that to me before, Lady DMA, but I know other people have. I just keep forgetting. I keep forgetting to do it, to look into it. Not eating fast foods. There is that. I haven't gotten takeouts, and I haven't gotten takeout in over a week. Like a week? A week or so? I forget the last time I got takeout, but it's been a week. At least a week. Audible books suck. I am not an auditory person. Sedentary lifestyle requires lower maintenance. Exactly. Had some protein like cheese? Probably. But eh. Yeah, it's been like 7 or 8 days. I don't remember what day it was that I think like the 3rd or 4th. 3rd or 4th would have been the last time I did it. I ate out. What I have for dinner? Just leftovers. Aaron? I've banned them. They'll be back in 30 seconds. Less. They'll be back in less than 30 seconds, Aaron. I'll ban them 1,000 times. They'll be back 1,001. Because they have absolutely no fucking... My Christ, they want... It's an asshole who just wants me to not be able to fucking do this anymore. As the house hunting? Haven't done it. Like, this is some fucking asshole who just doesn't want me to be able to fucking live stream. That's what it was. That's what it is. It's a fucking shitwad, absolutely garbage person who does not want me to be able to live stream. I don't know how to fucking deal with this piece of shit. Like, I genuinely don't know what I'm supposed to do when assholes are acting like this. Like, at this point, I am almost ready to just fucking end the live here. Hey, still a virgin. Like, I'm getting that fucking fed up already. The person has absolutely no fucking decency. Make membership. I might have to do memberships just so that this fucking dickwad just goes away. Like, I'll ban them over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And every single time they come right... I do. They just create a... They've just got 1,000 alternate accounts. Like, clearly the person's just made 1,000 fucking accounts. All with the exact same name somehow. Ugh, Jesus fuck, dude. Please. Please, I am fucking begging you to fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck off! Please! Please just leave me alone. Please! Please just leave me the fuck alone! Get another fucking thing to do! Please! Just fucking please! Go away! Please just go away! Like, what the fuck do I need to do to get you to actually just leave me the fuck alone? You absolutely garbage human being. I do block them, Chrissy. I blocked them dozens of times last night. I've blocked them a dozen times tonight already. Report them? I can. It's not going to do any good right now. Didn't know I was bothering you. Didn't know you were bothering me. Yeah, right. Yeah, sure you didn't fucking know. Fucking idiot. Offense? This fucking Thursday lane is garbage. Just spamming piece of shit. I'm not friends with people who just spam the same fucking comment a million fucking times, Thursday Lane. I'm not a virgin digital gangster. No, you stop being a spam piece of shit. Christ. Like, it's not even fucking fun. Alright, let's get into the fucking game. Yeah, the spam is just making it damn near impossible to have the chat going right now. It's... Thanks, Fruitcake. I'm, like... I'm gonna have to switch to members only soon just because of the spammers. Just because I've got multiple people who are coming in and just spamming and over and over and over and over and over, and I block them over and over, and they just come back in with another sock puppet account that they've created because they've got 1,000 accounts that they've created just for the sake of being bad people. Like, there's people who are here just because for some goddamn reason, they like being bad people, which baffles me. I don't understand why someone would enjoy being a bad person, but I mean, like, just ignore them. But the thing is, Barney, when they spam like that, it's one of those things where it's like, you can't really ignore them. There's too many of them to ignore at that point. Like, it's just because it's all you get to see at that point. Like, when you set it for that, it's just... It's the only comments you see. You don't actually get to see the other comments at that point. No peek, I don't. Fuck off. No, I don't support the fucking Nazis. Go away. Alright. Let's see if we can play the game before people... Let's see if I can actually play some of the game at some point. Hey, Triggers. It was afternoon on a sleepy summer day. Nothing urgent needed to be done. No real plans had been made. You and your company were simply hanging out around the local beach, free as the breeze. It was one of those good days where the world was your own and you had two of your close friends there to enjoy it with. Derek was on your left, and Cove was at your right. 3 pairs of footprints trailed along in the soft white sand behind you. Yeah, I think I'll do that later, Jamie. Derek had only been dropped off minutes ago. Instead of going inside your house, or Cove's, you'd simply started to walk. It was definitely hot out. Southern California tended to get that way, but it wasn't so bad that you had to hide away from the beating rays of the sun. Cove's hands were in his pockets. He spoke out while facing away from you. Instead, he lazily watched the unchanging horizon.
So...
what do you guys want to do? You and Derek took on matching squints. Normally, there'd be endless answers to that question, but the lackadaisical mood made it feel like trying to solve math problems in a dream. You had nothing. Your thoughts were moving as slowly as the tide that inched towards the shore bit by bit. Finally, the resident problem solver offered a possibility with a yawn and a tall stretch of his arms over his head.
Well...
wanna walk to the grocery store? What? Cove twisted his face to the opposite side and stared at Derek. A stuttering laugh expressed his disbelief. Why would we go grocery shopping? Fence, no. You pick the main character's name. You pick your protagonist's name. All the other names are preset. What do I play this game on? Just on my laptop, just on Steam. With a shrug, Derek scratched his cheek and explained. Well, it's probably different here, but where I live, the closest place to get stuff isn't a convenience store or mall or anything. It's a grocery store. So sometimes me and my bros will take a trip down there and see what we can find. Wouldn't you find groceries? You joked. Derek just laughed. The puzzled reactions from his two friends didn't deter him at all.
This is gonna be great.
It's really not like normal errands. You can get anything you want. There are a lot of things at the store you never even think about when you're there with your parents and a list of stuff for the house. Hey, Titney. I got a non-binary... I think AFAB non-binary, I think. Never, Nicholas. Cove's formerly heavy, drooping lids lifted high, showing his bright blue eyes. He glanced between you and Derek for that final confirmation that you were seriously doing this today. Derek had complete confidence in his stance. It could be interesting. The corners of your neighbor's mouth perked up as well.
Sure.
Okay, let's go grocery shopping. Cool! It was another successful bit of improvising on Derek's part. He put his hands on his hips eagerly.
Let's go.
I'm pretty sure I know where your store is, but the two of you should probably lead the way. Leave it to us. Cove puffed out his chest with pride. He was a true local to the town after being there for so many years. And your walk continued, now with an actual destination in mind. You retraced the remnants of your steps in the sand, heading back to the neighborhood, then up the hill and out of the residential area. Kinda Sav. Shout out to Kinda Sav's friend Shinko Fleur. When you turned onto Main Street, the grocery store was already visible in the distance. It also wasn't going anywhere, so you enjoyed the stroll together. You would arrive when you arrived. Derek continued to sell the concept of his plan by recounting stories of him and his brother's past adventures in Groceryland.
But...
so, we'd gotten super lucky, because the discount rack had a whole cherry pie for way off. Me, Jorge, and Nico pulled our pocket change to get it, and then we had an entire pie just like that. We sat outside on a bench near the store and ate it from the pan. Hey, Julie. It was cut into 6 slices. I only let the kids have one piece each. It was already a lot of sugar. I didn't want to make them food sick. Never, Roadman. Hi, Kira. It is not a sex game, Fence. I tried to come up with how we were going to explain half a pie to Mom, but Nico had his own idea. He took a slice he wasn't allowed to eat, and instead threw it at Jorge. Cove's mouth gaped open at the audacity. Derek laughed out loud at the memory, and the response it got in the present. He'd been watching way too many cartoons with food fights and pies to the face, I guess. New God of War? No. No hamburger eyes. God of War? Too much for me. Too tough for my tastes. You'd believe that. Ooh, Celtic Forest Fairy, have a lovely night. Thank you very much, Celtic Forest Fairy. Hearts in the chat for Celtic. You'd believe that. If there was one thing Nicholas loved, it was Derek. And if there was another, it was cars. And if there was a third, it was copying things he'd seen others do.
Obviously.
Jorge didn't let that slide, and he took the 5th piece of the pie and squished it right into Nicholas's head. His hair was covered in dark cherry goo. Hi, Nessa. Breaking, it's a story line. It's a story game, so you're not playing with other people now. It was a mess, but if you can't beat them, join them. I dumped the last of the pie on myself. Why? It stopped them from fighting over it, and they would have ended up feeling bad if they got messy and I didn't. Nicholas doesn't think very far ahead. Oh, what did you do next?
Honestly...
We found a water fountain around the back of the grocery store and tried to scrape off as much pie as possible. Then we went home. Mom still figured out what happened, and we all had to take real baths. That was a good time. A fond smile settled on Derek's face. He glanced up to the sky while getting lost in an entirely private moment of reminiscing. Cove was still reflecting on the story with amusement. Destabilized? No, I don't play with people. I play with myself. I hope we'll find a whole pie. We'll have to check for it. Cove ruffled a hand through his hair, possibly considering how it might have felt to have an entire pie crushed into his locks. He smirked. A pie-throwing fight is way more memorable than I would have guessed. The most unexpected thing that happened to me when out shopping was that time I got a free balloon, and accidentally popped it pretty much immediately.
Dude.
Oh, shoot. It was Derek's turn to chuckle in nervous disbelief. His grin shook just imagining it.
It's okay.
Rest in peace, Pop. You won't be forgotten. The conversation stayed on the topic of store-related outings. Naturally, that time you all went to the mall with Lee, and technically Kira too, was discussed. Where Cove's mom went during that trip was still highly speculated, but there were theories. The chat didn't last much longer though. Soon you crossed the street and arrived at Sunset Bird's local mom-and-pop grocery store. Thanks, Che. Thanks, Che Mallow. You and your 2 co-shoppers headed right through the automatic doors. A shiver went down your spine when you stepped out of the afternoon heat and into the powerful air-conditioned store. Shiny, orderly aisles stretched out in front of you. Each one was tightly packed with a plethora of brightly packaged merchandise. How's the transition going? Still not. Still haven't worked up the courage to call a doctor. That store is very organized and very clean. No real grocery store looks like this. Like, there's no grocery store that looks this clean and this organized. So, this is like a platonic ideal of a grocery store, but they never actually look like this. Path of Titans, you get to be a dinosaur. Maybe another time, Triggers, but probably not. To some people, the rows and rows of items might have been a slog to go through, but seen through Derek's eyes, it was a scavenger hunt with endless opportunities. Though, it was Cove who spoke first. Do we need a cart?
Nope.
Probably not. Derek casually waved that off, eyes still fixated ahead on the altar of consumerism ahead. We're here for quality, not quantity. Besides, do we even have enough money to buy a ton of things? Oh, wait. Cove suddenly burrowed his hands into his pockets once again. He tucked them in deep, but didn't find what he'd gone in search of. I don't have my wallet. It's at home. Me neither. I thought we'd just be in the neighborhood all day. Yeah.
I figured.
It's cool. I figured. Derek's lack of a reaction couldn't smooth over Cove's obvious response to the situation. His wavy eyebrows pulled down together. Attack on Titan. I watched the first episode of Attack on Titan. Why is the juice not... That's a good point. Well, no, I suppose you do sometimes find carts of juice that are sitting on shelves. I think I have seen that sometimes. Titney? No. My character's name is Jamie. Do they have money? Derek seems to have money. We could have stopped by to get it before we left. Nah, this was my idea, so it's my treat. I've got like $8 and some change. That's enough for all of us to spend around a few dollars or put it together on for one thing. That's gonna be plenty. I promise I'll pay you back. $3? Not even that much? It's really no big deal. I still want to. I will too. Fine, you guys win. Where's Jamie? My character's Jamie. You don't... The player character doesn't show up on screen. What, just be perma-stuck in the grocery store for 20 minutes? Oh, it's probably going to be longer than 20 minutes. These stories are all, like, these moments are all, like, an hour long, so... Fine, you guys win. Cove's hands finally deserted his pockets, and one came up to rub his forearm instead.
Alright.
Okay, thanks. Let's get something good. What team are we on in the game? Hey, Zach. Don't be rude, final viewing. Derek took a step forward as he cheered. Hey, Cody. Alright, here we go. You went down the nearest aisle, swiveling your head to check both sides of the path as you swung your currently empty of goods arms through the air. The first stop of the market expedition was the discount rack in the back. You didn't have the same luck as Derek and his little brothers. It was the only place in the store that was barren. You're the bad guy? Duh. Character has more money than I do. Yeah, I've been there. One shelf had several dented cartons of chicken stock. Stuffed in the bottom of the rack was a bag of plain rolls. The sight was pretty pathetic. Pick up some eggs? No, you don't shoot people in this game. Too bad. He shrugged like it was nothing, but his words told a different story. It would have been easy if there was a pie here, or a cake, or one of those pans with a bunch of cinnamon rolls. Wistfully, Cove continued to mumble a list of miscellaneous pastries that you might have potentially been able to get if the fates had aligned. We can still get the stock. It's such a good deal. You got a laugh from both boys. We'll keep it in mind as an option. There's still plenty of possibilities. And if push comes to shove, we could afford a smaller treat. Like getting 3 boxes with 1 slice of cake each. We wouldn't eat more than that anyway. GTA, absolutely. Maybe you would eat just 1. Cove could have eaten half the pie himself.
Whoa.
Wow. Alright. It's a good thing we didn't find one then. This is the new Final Fantasy. Yeah, this is Final Fantasy 16. This is a, I got an early copy of Final Fantasy 16, Stella. Which one is Derek? This is Derek. This is Cove. Hey. You pushed past the already pilfered treasure chest, and continued to chat. You passed cereals, pastas, and sauces, an aisle full of chip bags and soda packs, and more. The dry goods and canned foods now behind you, you arrived at the produce section. Produce is usually the first thing you find. The arrangement of goods was much more open than the narrow rows of shelves. So, in almost any grocery store you go to, pretty much any grocery store you go to, first things first will actually be the produce. That's like before you see anything else, you'll come across the produce. Anyone's welcome as long as they're not being a nuisance, Sapphire. Turquoise? I think you'd... Well, I don't know. I think you do sometimes see juice that's not in the fridge. Don't fence. This is orange juice. And these are, cup noodles. The 3 of you could spread out more in between pallets and baskets of fresh fruits and vegetables. Derek grabbed an avocado to check its ripeness. Cove stared at the watermelons, appreciating the fruit, but his blank face made it obvious he had no idea how to tell if they were good quality or not. Same! I also don't know how to tell if a watermelon is good or not. Then a recognizable crackling sound spluttered to life. Both the boys with you lifted their heads. Without conversing, the 2 rushed over to the back wall where the leafy greens were piled up. A light spray of mist burst from the sprinklers, raining down gently on the produce. Cove and Derek stuck their hands into the damp air while snickering. Derek rubbed his hands together to pretend he was washing them. Cove lifted his hands to be up as close to the source of water as possible. Jessie Slaughter? I don't know who Jessie Slaughter is. Was she related to Sergeant Slaughter? Oh, good night, Insanity Circle. That was weird. How did they both know to do something ridiculous like that? Their impromptu public shower ended shortly, and it was back to the center of the space for them. Knowing grins were shared between the pair as you regrouped. There was a comfort in realizing someone else had the same silly habit as you. With the distraction over and the main goal unresolved, Cove helplessly glanced around the store. He was totally stumped. Oh, I mean, I grew up on WWF and G.I. Joe. So yeah, I had an appreciation for Sergeant Slaughter, of course. Okay, destabilized. Hey, Megan Fox.
Aww.
There's a lot of things I like, but I don't have to get any of it now. How do we pick? There was a whine in his tone, and he crossed his arms out of frustration. Derek kept it light, same as he would when dealing with his much younger siblings. Dude, you need more imagination. Turn lemons into lemonade.
I've got a plan.
Actually, wait, yeah, that's what we should do. We can get some lemons and make our own lemonade. Stunted by aggressor. I mean, they're not sure what to get, Turk. Megan? Oh, sorry, Megan. I'll try to remember that. The concept struck Cove just as much as Derek. Oh, that would be cool. Now that's an idea. Thanks. Derek marched with purpose to a box that was heavy with mesh bags of the desired yellow citrus. He tapped a finger to his chin, then bounced from one foot to the other. Derek was suddenly a lemon connoisseur who scrutinized the offerings with utmost focus. What for dinner? I just had leftovers. He selected 2 bags, one in each hand. The bottom of each pack was set against his upturned palms. Derek jiggled the lemons and tried to get a sense of their weight. Finally, the bag on the right was deemed superior, and Derek carefully laid the unwanted bundle back onto the stack. Hey, Whisper. Then he lifted the winner high, showing it off to Cove and you. I've got my thing. It's only $3. Your turns. This time, Cove didn't look aimlessly at what it was in front of him. He shut his eyes and put all his mind's power into conjuring up an answer. Soon he stole a glance at Derek's lemons through squinted eyes, and then he took his turn.
Come on.
Let's go.
You made another trip across the length of the store, this time at a much brisker pace. Cove had a target in sight, even if you couldn't see it yet. Sapphire, yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely trying to capture nostalgia with these early bits. Oh, what I missed from Stella? We should cook the same meal as them. Oh, I mean, they're just making lemonade. Oops. He blew past all the food aisles, the pet shelves, and the cleaning supplies. He only stopped when he'd made it to the one random aisle in the store with cheap plastic kids' toys. This is it. His words were eager and certain. There was a childish excitement to Cove that was fitting for the location. Know about my crimes? You know about some of my crimes. Seems relaxing. Game seems relaxing. That's sort of the point, Whisper. He reached a hand into the wall with yo-yos and bubble blowers. His fingers landed on a baggie of water balloons. Drinking lemonade is going to make me want to have fun outside, too. We can use this for that.
Yeah.
Perfect plan, Cove. Good work. Thanks. For all his previous indecision, the sweetness of victory was all the more worth it for Cove. His selection was even cheaper than Derek's. $2 and a bit of change. All that was left of Derek's money was $3 and your choice of prize. Derek patiently cradled his bag of lemons, while Cove watched you expectantly, excited to see what the final piece of the puzzle would be. You reflected on the theme that was forming, your own preferences, and the shareability of different goods. In the end, you opened your mouth and said, Sorry, Barney. No, Barney, I'm not doing that. Where are their parents? Working. This is like summer vacation. We see their parents here now and then, Fence, but, you know, they're 13. They're old enough to wander around a tiny town, you know? I'm thinking umbrellas. I'm thinking drink umbrellas. Thanks, Megan. We can do candy, or we can do little umbrellas, little drink umbrellas. I'm honestly leaning towards little umbrellas to put in drinks. Gum? this North Korea? Southern California. So similar to North Korea in some ways? I don't know. Excellent, Jamie. You got to lead the way out of the toy aisle and back into the thick of the grocery store traffic. You wound around the aisles until you found the right spot. You took another minute to pick out the best little umbrellas, and then you were done. With items in hand, you, Derek, and Cove went through the checkout line. Derek dug out his pocket change and paid for your odd arrangement of items. They're not orphans, Gia. They have parents at home. Their parents have jobs. Actually, easiest way to tell that this isn't North Korea. The shelves are fully stocked. What's the point of the game? I don't know. It's a story. None of you bothered to get a bag. Derek's was already in one, and you and Cove could easily carry your things on your own. After a successful grocery trip, you returned to the great outdoors to walk back to the neighborhood. No, I don't, Cody. No, I don't, Destabilized. You two made the same joke at the same... Cody and Destabilized made the exact same joke at the exact same time. Just both of them making the exact same joke. Hi, Fruitcakes. Thanks, Fruitcakes. Shout out to Fruitcake's boyfriend, Fred. Music is soothing? Yeah. This kind of outing reminded you that it wasn't about what you were doing. What counted was who you were doing it with. Outside, you gathered in front of the crosswalk and waited for a chance to get back on the main sidewalk. While standing around, it was unanimously decided that you'd bring your goods to Cove's house and make the lemonade there. Your home had the risk of Elizabeth deciding she wanted a pre-dinner snack. She wouldn't appreciate having a lemonade-making operation in the way. There was no worry of that in the Holden condo. Cove's mom and dad were out, and even if they weren't, they were his parents, not his bossy big siblings. Hi, Titney. Linda, closest hot springs? I have no idea. I had never looked that up, Linda. Never looked up where any hot springs in Ontario. They wouldn't even dream of throwing the three of you out of the kitchen to use it instead. Derek was thinking along similar lines, based on what he said next. Honestly, man, I can't wrap my head around what it's like to not have any siblings hanging around the house at all. I don't mean that you're weird for that, just, it's gotta be so different.
Really?
Is it? I have my dad here. My mom is staying right now, too.
I guess.
Yeah, but that's not the same. Parents take care of the kids, and the kids have a bunch of stuff they need. Every day has to be about me and my brothers. If we go out to eat, will everyone like the stuff there? Or will Jorge be too picky? Are we all old enough to do whatever the thing is? Or is Nicholas too little? My birthday is the only time I can do everything that I want for the whole time. And I still choose to keep my bros in mind even though my parents don't make me. Not a lemonade stand fence. I think they're just making the lemonade for themselves. Dispose of cup. I would assume, Harlem, that there's cups at Cove's house. Thanks, Megan. Ginger male market failure? I have never heard of that. Celtic. The name of this game is Our Life, Beginnings, and Always. Ouch, Fence.
It's okay.
I don't mind, but it's crazy imagining a world where I don't have to do that. Huh. I hadn't thought about that. Oh, hey, Baby Bop. People were asking about you, Baby Bop. Cove's eyes darted back and forth, and he bit the inside of his cheek. I guess having siblings or not changes how someone thinks. I figured people would be who they are no matter what. But maybe I would have needed to be at least a little different if I had to share my parents and life all the time. Boil his brothers in a slow cooker? Can you dress your own character? I mean, you don't get to see the outfits. Hey, Milkbee. I don't even want to imagine a world without Elizabeth. Same for me and my bros. But the road was clear, so Derek got the conversation and his legs moving again. He started preparations by listing off what you'd need to gather when you made it back. Sugar, ideally some ice and really cold water, a pitcher or something like that. Do you have one of those lemon squeezers? We can do it by hand if we've got it. With every object Derek recited, Cove nodded along plainly, but he was watching something off in the distance. His faraway thoughts made Derek's words reach him less and less, until Derek noticed the lack of reaction. He called to Cove more loudly to catch his attention. Are you okay, dude?
Oh.
Cove blinked as his brain snapped back into place in the center of his head. It's nothing. What were we talking about? Derek spun his lemon bag into a mini tornado by twisting it around tight from the bottom, and then releasing it. He snickered.
No worries.
I was just making plans for making the lemonade. Cody, stop being mean. Would I please read the Thornbirds aloud? Depends on whether it's public domain. Okay. The rest of the trip passed by comfortably. Derek carried the conversation, and Cove really paid attention from that on. Once he'd arrived in your neighborhood and reached Cove's front door, the resident of the building opened it up without needing a key. It was already unlocked. Derek gasped upon seeing such a lack of security. Cove, however, was so relaxed and content that he yawned while going inside. That unknowingly cut off Derek's chance to question Cove about his choice not to lock the door. He simply followed his friend inside, and you did as well. Pizza? Not tonight, Linda. Cove leisurely crossed his living room to drop his bag of water balloons on the coffee table for later. You left your little umbrellas there alongside it.
I'm on it.
Alright. Derek went straight into the kitchen. He had his lemon bag over his shoulder like a gym pack and flipped it over to sit beside the sink. He slipped his thumbs through the holes of the mesh and tore it. Where's your colander? Cove paused, looking incredulously at the wall. Then he turned and projected his confusion across the counter towards the source of it.
What?
My what? Hey, Cher's not dead. Oh. Good to know that Cher is not dead. Almost 10,000 followers. I've been at almost 10,000 subscribers. I've been at almost 10,000 subscribers for months, Barney. Fair enough, Megan. Celebrate the 10K. I don't know, Barney. I don't know what I'll do for it. My what? Undeterred, Derek was quick to offer a rephrase. A strainer. In the lower cabinet. The one on the left. I've heard that before. Poor Linda. Hey, Anunnaki. Derek pressed his hands into the marble and leaned forward with a grin.
Thanks.
Thanks, Cove. You'll twat me. You're dirty, Megan. Jeez, Megan, you are a dirty girl. You learn something new every day, huh, Cove? Yeah. Then the spiky-haired chef ducked down and disappeared from your sight. If you could call someone who made lemonade a chef, that is. Kelly. I know that in Britain, twat is a euphemism, is another word for vagina. Twat means vagina. I'll twat you is the most nostalgic thing I've heard. Exactly, Barney. Twat is a vagina. So Megan was saying she's gonna vagina me. Which I assume... Oh, good night, Titney. I assume that Megan meant that she was going to, like, sex me up. I assume that's what she meant. Yeah. Twat is also, like, just an insult. I was like, what kind of book is this? Twat is also used as an insult in the UK. When he popped back into view, framed by the back wall and the support beams at the front of the kitchen, Derek was holding a silver strainer. Exactly, Barney. Megan Fox wouldn't. It's a love tap. Help with my gender reassignment surgery. Well, I mean, now, now everyone has to Google twat waffle. What is this game? It's a visual novel. Our Life Beginnings and Always. It's just a visual novel. He plopped it into the sink, and it sharply clinked against the metal basin. Derek took the bag he'd set nearby and dumped every single lemon into the waiting container. He turned the faucet so he could clean the cheery fruits. The sound of running water added an extra layer of relaxation to the atmosphere. Cove stopped dawdling and joined the already hard-at-work Derek in the kitchen. He grabbed a cutting board and a large knife from an upper drawer. It was his house, and he'd wordlessly claimed responsibility for the riskiest part of making the lemonade. Cove also directed you towards the sugar and a few other things. As it turned out, Mr. Holden didn't have an actual lemon squeezer, so you were going to be doing that by hand. He did have a perfectly crystal clear glass pitcher that'd be perfect for the lemonade. The body of it was a completely round ball shape. It had a narrowed edge that pulled in at the top with one side pinched into a spout. As far as you could tell, it'd never been used.
Hey.
Have you made lemonade before? Jamie? Cove? Derek casually questioned both of you while he hefted the so-called colander up and down to shake off some of the water clinging to the freshly washed lemons. I've done it a few things. Helping the moms make it. What about you, Cove? I've made really simple lemonade before, just for me. I'd squeeze one lemon into a glass of water and dump in a spoonful of sugar. It wasn't that great, but it was easy. Cool. Derek hummed while placing lemons on a clean kitchen towel. He took a fruit from the colander with his left hand, passed it over to his right, and placed that down while grabbing a new one.
It's all good.
I've made it before too. Fresh lemonade is so good. I'm excited for this. So am I. Your tools were all prepared now, so the team shifted into the actual creation of the traditional summer drink. Cove would cut the lemons into chunks. Derek gave Cove a tip to roll the lemons against the board before slicing them to get the juices going. You and Derek worked hard together to squish the fruits. You squeeze the lemon parts over the pitcher with a smaller strainer balanced over the mouth of it to catch the seeds. Piece by piece, you crush the thick peel into itself to pop the little sacks of juice in the fruit. The tips of your fingers began to wrinkle after a while. But slowly, a murky liquid pooled at the bottom of the glass container. When enough fruits were chopped, Cove joined in the juicing effort. The three of you huddled around the counter together. Just drink from the toilet bowl? Hi, random viewer. You leaned over the one pitcher and strained to get everything you could out of the little yellow menaces, while not accidentally squirting acid into anyone's eyes. With the precariousness of the situation aside, Cove continued the conversation with a question of his own. Derek, you've made lemonade, but did you ever do the whole lemonade stand thing where you try to sell it to random people who pass by? Oh yeah, it was a mess, and I think we only sold like 2 cups. Nicholas kept drinking our supply, and Jorge's effort to stop him spilled even more of it.
Oh man.
Plus, the 2 kids fighting over the lemonade jar probably scared people away from the stall. But it's not like I was expecting that to be some kind of entrepreneurial success. It was for Nico and Jorge to have fun, and they did. Mostly. As usual, Tales of Derek's endeavors as big brother got Cove to chuckle. You were also smiling, even though your fingers had started to cramp after so much lemon compacting. I didn't ever try. I could never talk to strangers like that. Hey, that's fair. It was pretty awkward whenever anyone did come by.
Man.
But man, all this business talk makes me think about how I only met either of you because of my dad partnered with Cove's dad's business. If that hadn't happened, you probably wouldn't have ever learned I existed. You'd still know each other, obviously. Derek squeezed his 12th lemon chunk with a fittingly sour expression on his face. He'd accidentally made himself feel like a third wheel. Use their mouths to get the juice out? In the cluster of human juicers, Derek was in the middle, yet he began to fade despite being right next to you. You and Cove looked at one another from over Derek's lowered head. Because he's short. Cove pushed himself to smile a little through his concern, while also giving Derek's arm a little nudge with his elbow. I worry about that kind of thing sometimes too. If my dad hadn't picked this street to move to, I wouldn't have met Jamie. The bravery he mustered began to disintegrate after putting that truth to the front of his mind. Cove swallowed bitterly. I don't like it when I start thinking about that.
It's okay.
But my dad still would have had his business, so I still would have met you. Sheepishly, Derek pressed his shoulders upper in his face. He managed a small smile. How are the cats doing? They're fine. Whiny.
Yeah.
It's rough for all of us. Where your parents live and what your parents do has to matter so much to everything. The cats are fine. Derek bit his lip, unwilling to let himself continue to speak negatively. But, like a turtle coming out of his shell, Derek lifted himself off the counter and rejoined you and Cove at his regular eye level. We did meet each other and we're friends. That's what counts. Exactly. What ifs don't make a difference because we're really all here. Yeah. Cove quietly watched over his friend, soothed by his uplifted mood. Then his lips parted as a pleasant thought came to mind. Suck the lemons and spit into lemonade? Ew, that sounds gross, Gia. It's not the lemonade you want? Perv. Hey, this is where I was standing when I first met you.
Right?
Oh yeah. Derek bounced up on his toes and tossed the lemon piece he'd been working on over into the trash can. It landed inside perfectly. But I was on the other side of the counter back then, and now I'm here in the kitchen with you. That caught your ear and you lifted one of your brows. You remembered the night Cove told you he'd met a new kid named Derek, but he didn't say much about it. All you really knew was that their parents had started working together, and then Derek began to come around the neighborhood for visits. Derek had recognized an intrigued audience when he saw one, and did what he knew how to do. Tell the rest of a story. Turk, at the end of this one, probably not. But in other ones, love story, it can be Alaluna. It is a story about growing up and about relationships, maintaining relationships over years. You don't necessarily have to end up. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, but definitely it's. Can I squeeze more lemons with booty hole or left hand? Probably my left hand, and my booty hole isn't. I don't have much experience squeezing with my booty hole. Mr. Holden invited my dad over for a meal at his house after their partnership was official. He'd talked about Cove before, when him and my dad were getting to know each other. You can't get away from hearing about Mr. Holden's top-notch son if you spend any time with him. Off to the side, Cove mumbled with embarrassment over what he clearly thought was an unnecessary addition. Derek laughed the minor interruption off and went on.
So...
My dad suggested that I come too, since we were the same age. Mr. Holden was apparently really into the idea. I had no idea what to expect from something like that, but I wanted to go to a sort of business dinner with my dad. It felt pretty cool to be invited. And then I went. Whatever I was imagining before I got there, Mr. Holden definitely wasn't it. I had thought my dad was casual for a professional business person, but Cove's dad takes the cake. A warmth came to Cove's expression. Not the red-hot heat of fluster from before, but a gentleness that was based on his honest love for his parent. Oh, a lot of people don't expect Dad to be how he is. What did you think about me? When you first met me, you know. Derek mindlessly scratched his damp hand against the back of his head. A stray lemon seed clung to one of the spikes of his hair. You didn't want to cut the two off, so the little bit went unmentioned.
No way!
Honestly, when I spotted you in the back of the kitchen, I thought Mr. Holden had another kid he was hiding, because there was no way that guy was 13. You were so tall and fit, and you just stared at people. You seemed like a tough upper-grade teen who'd never talked to somebody like me. You snickered under your breath. If you didn't know any better, you'd think he was describing Elizabeth. Having that description be assigned to Cove Holden of all people was hilarious. Cove's dad is a DILF? He is, Gia. He is. We've seen him before, and he is definitely a DILF. Cove was equally startled by Derek's choice of words. His eyes opened wide in amazement.
Oh.
You thought I was tough? Yeah, I did, but thought is definitely the right word for that. That instantly put Cove into a pouty mood. He pressed both his palms against the marble countertop, not bothering to squeeze another lemon. Cove didn't want to play anymore. Derek leaned his shoulder against Cove's side affectionately. He reached past him to the lemon slice Cove wasn't using and started to juice it himself.
Sorry.
There's nothing wrong with being a softie. I like that about you. Bringing Derek's statement to life, Cove visibly relaxed his stance. The tone of his voice was equally delicate. I guess that's not bad. Cove was honestly kidding himself if he thought he was anything other than a sensitive sweetheart. But, just like Derek, that was something you treasured about him. It's great, Cove. Cove took a new piece of fruit and rejoined the lemonade-making efforts. Derek pinched an eye shut from the tension of crushing a chunk in his fist. He hesitantly continued the topic. So, what about me? When you first met me, what kind of impression did you get? With much less force, Cove used both hands to work on his single lemon. He answered the question while staring off into space. That was likely the same expression Derek had seen the moment they'd met. The face he'd read as intimidating, rather than easily distracted. I thought he probably liked sports. All three of you shook from laughter, bumping against each other with your closeness, like a bunch of grapes on a vine wrestling in the wind.
I get it.
Okay. Jamie, your turn. What did you think about me when we met? Oh. Your mind drifted back to a few months ago, before summer vacation had begun. You had stepped out of your house late in the evening, and Cove was sitting on the curb with someone else. Someone you'd never seen in your life, not even in passing at school. A green-eyed boy with a football jersey who was joking around lightheartedly with your longtime neighbor. You'd guessed immediately that he was the Derek kid from the Holdens' new business relationship. That, or Cove had learned a magic spell to summon a new friend out of nowhere. You had stood there staring for only a second, but the newcomer noticed your presence quickly. He jumped right to his feet, jogged across the street, and stuck out his hand for you to shake. With the wide grin you were so familiar with now, he introduced himself to you for the first time as Derek. I thought you were so nice.
Aw.
Aw, thanks. Are you gonna tell me what you thought of me when we met? Derek's gaze shifted from the picture in front of him to settle on you instead. There was a focus in his eyes. It made you hold your breath from anticipation. I thought you were really chill. Well, it was kind of flattering to know you'd made such a good first impression on Derek. Well, I'm glad you didn't think I sucked. Definitely not. By the way, you have a lemon seed in your hair.
Oh.
Derek raked his hands through his light brown strands blindly. Unfortunately, he focused on the top and side, so he never hit the right spot. One of your hands covered the laughter coming out of your mouth. You used the other to point out the target on the back of his head. Finally, he was able to brush the seed onto the floor. He bent down to pick it up and dropped it to the side on the counter. That's okay, Celtic. You don't need to be scared. Thanks, Jamie. You're welcome. We can add a little of the lemon zest, too. I'll do that. Derek fumbled to move the topic to something else. His darkening cheeks were probably the reason why. Do you have a grater or a peeler? Yeah. Cove gestured to the same drawer the knife had come from. Derek dug through it until he successfully retrieved a multi-textured grater. He took his stuff to the opposite side of the kitchen to not get in the way, and worked with his back to you and Cove. Cove tilted his head thoughtfully. He was inspired by Derek's work ethic. If it's gonna be fancy lemonade with zest, then we should do that thing where you put whole slices in, too. I can cut a few of the leftover lemons.
Cool.
Jamie, can you pour the water and sugar in the pitcher so it can start to dissolve? Yep. You started by filling up the sparkly jug with chilled, filtered water from the fridge. And you remembered to put ice in the drink, too. The diluted lemon juice sloshed around and threatened to spill over as you piled in the ice. You left some space for Cove's lemon slices. Finally, you took hold of the hefty bag of white sugar and pulled it close to the counter's edge. Stray grains of sugar that coated the bag came to stick against your still damp fingers instead. You felt like you were building a sandcastle at the beach. J-Dot. Grate his feet into the lemonade. Ew. And ouch! What do you think? Half a cup of sugar? You searched around the kitchen until you found a colorful ceramic mixing spoon. You dunked it into the pitcher and carefully stirred. A quiet smile grew on your face as you watched the bits of sugar swirl around in the pale yellow drink. At this point, the separate ingredients had truly come together to become lemonade. Lemonade. Round and round you turned the spoon. It was almost hypnotic the way the juice whirled inside the pitcher. Your trance was broken by a sharp hiss at your side. You dropped the spoon, losing it in the depths of the lemonade, and snapped your head towards Cove. He was holding his left hand up to his face. A thick bubble of dark red had slipped down from one of his fingers and left a streak over his palm.
Huh.
Oh, ouch. That's not great. Where do you keep the bandages? Cove plainly shrugged. It's nothing. Without even thinking about it, Cove reached his hand down to wipe the mess on his pants. Get a band-aid, dude! Put on a band-aid! Luckily for his trousers, Derek flipped around at the commotion. His tense, worried face took in the scene, and a disbelieving shout startled Cove into freezing. Don't do that! Cove stared incredulously from the corner of his eyes, with an arm awkwardly sticking up from his side. His sudden pause in a strange position reminded you of the red light, green light game you'd played at your elementary school. Except there was no green, and only red in Cove's version. I'm fine. No way. Seriously, Cove, you have to take care of that. Derek stretched his arms high to grasp the taller teen by the shoulders. He stepped backwards, getting Cove to move with him. We're gonna clean that off for real. Cove muttered an averted fine as he stumbled along with Derek, who was reversing out of the kitchen. Jamie, do you mind cleaning up the cutting board? No, I'll take care of it. You gathered the knife onto the cutting board and brought it over to the trash. The lemon slices couldn't be used in a drink after that. You used the knife to scrape them off into the bag. Then you got to rinsing the board and knife in the sink with soap and hot water. You switched between staring down at the suds and checking over the counter for the boys. You were careful not to accidentally get a cut of your own, but it was hard not to wonder what was going on down the hall. By the time you'd finished washing up, Cove and Derek re-emerged in the living room. An unassuming brown bandage was wrapped around the cut on Cove's finger.
It's okay.
It wasn't deep. We washed it off, got it clean, put a bandage on it, good as new. Derek marched with confidence right back into the kitchen. Cove hesitated in the living room. He waved apologetically.
Hey.
Hey, you really okay? I definitely am. I just nicked myself when my lemon slipped. The juice stinging me was way worse than the cut itself. That's a relief. Thanks for helping, Derek. Ooh, oh, that's rough, Share. That's rough, Share. Thank you, too. It's cleaner in here. It's cleaner in here. He held his hand up to you for a high five. It had been washed clean of the lemon juice that coated it before. You snapped his hand. You swung your palm forward and clapped Derek's back. He pumped his arms enthusiastically as a follow-up. Cove walked over to join the two of you, smiling ruefully. Thanks for caring. Always, man. Now what?
Well...
He took a second to look between you and Cove as he puzzled out a next step. And then he beamed. Let's try our lemonade. It doesn't need the slices or the zest. Derek gave an exaggerated wave across the front of his chest, blowing the whole thing off. Cove eagerly supported the sentiment. He was more than ready to put the prior incident behind him.
You're right.
Yeah, lemonade doesn't need to be fancy. It's lemonade. Indeed. Derek nodded twice as he strained to lift the full pitcher. He had to balance on his tiptoes to pour the juice into the set of 3 glasses that had been put out earlier. If Derek noticed there was a spoon clattering around in there, he pretended that he didn't. Thank you. At the same time, Cove and Derek tipped their cups and took full gulps of the drink. They savored the taste and you watched as their reactions formed. Cove's brows lifted in surprise, and his eyelashes fluttered. Derek hummed while wiping his mouth. This is better than I thought we'd be able to do. It's really lemony. Derek gave a thumbs up.
Good job, team.
You gladly joined them in taking a sip, enjoying every drop of your hard work. It was absolutely refreshing. Cove chugged the rest of his drink, then placed the empty cup down firmly. His enthusiasm was continuing to rise. Let's fill the water balloons. Slowly, cautiously, Derek questioned Cove's plan. He didn't want to ruin things, but expressing concern was more important.
Are you sure?
Will you really be alright in a water balloon fight? With your finger and stuff? Cove remained relaxed in the face of Derek's worry. He wasn't going to bring the mood down after the commotion he caused earlier. He responded to the inquiry by slickly pulling out the big gun. Your neighbor smirked as he held up his left arm over his chest, showing the full length of the jagged pale scar that marked him. I've had worse. Derek's eyes widened, and his mouth was stuck hanging open. You'd seen Derek in a swimsuit. He didn't have a single scratch on his skin. Or if he did, it was tiny enough to be covered by nothing more than neon shorts. He could only imagine what Cove had gone through to get an injury with such a lasting impact. So, if Cove Holden said he could manage a cut, he could manage that cut.
Whoa.
You know, you're pretty tough after all. The compliment had Cove preening. He caressed his trusty scar and giggled childishly. Yeah, you make a good point. Alright, let's do it. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you busted open the baggie of water balloons, pushed the tools of your lemonade production aside, and got to work on another summer group project. You stretched the open end of a water balloon over the faucet. The plastic fit snugly around the silver spout. You still kept your hands on it to make certain the balloon didn't pop off and shoot a stream into your face like a busted water fountain. Derek flipped the handle up for you, and the first saggy balloon rapidly expanded. Okay, have fun, Hannibal. Out of the bag, the balloon was a dark emerald color, but in only a few seconds the bloated sack of water had stretched so thin the green had become almost translucent. It was as pale as Cove's hair. Before it was pushed beyond its limit, Derek turned the faucet off again. You carefully pinched the stream top of your perfectly plump toy, and then harvested it off the silver vine. Cove reached out for it, as he intended to tie the balloons while you and Derek continued filling. Derek looked between the balloons and Cove's hand and called a timeout. He'd been a little overeager to get involved, and realized in that moment that their team arrangement wasn't the most efficient. He requested to switch positions with Cove. Cove rolled his eyes, but couldn't argue. His bandage could easily be yanked right off by the top loops of the plastic that formed around the fingers while tying them. No, Gia, it's just a water balloon. Your optimized party got back into action, with you hooking balloons into place, Cove handling water distribution, and Derek sealing the deal with a knot. Soon you had a couple dozen shiny water balloons overflowing in the sink basin. Cove pushed off from the counter silently. He disappeared from the kitchen, and left you and Derek wondering. He went down the hall into his bedroom. Hungry fat chick? I could be the next hungry fat chick! He was only gone for a minute, before stepping back into the hall with a pure white, hole-speckled laundry basket. The point of that was obvious, but his choice of bin did get a bit of ribbing from Derek. Did you dump your clothes on the floor for that? Yeah, they were already dirty.
Oh.
Derek blinked. He hadn't expected that to be true, or for Cove to be so straightforward about it. You snickered at the exchange, still casually leaning against the sink. When Cove dropped the very newly empty laundry basket on the tile, you cradled a few water balloons in your arms and placed them inside. Cove and Derek joined in with the transfer. Eventually, every water balloon had safely made it into the basket.
Nice.
Nice work! Derek and Cove each took one side and lifted, while you helped steer by grabbing the back end. Moving as one, the three of you shuffled out of the kitchen and through the living room to take your treasure chest of jiggly jewels jiggly jewels. Yes, I am still 13. Your trusted jiggly jewels into the neighborhood. Nothing from anyone about jiggly jewels? Really? Nothing. Filth. There you go, yeah. The door was opened, the drop from the curve to the street was overcome, and you successfully place the laundry basket in the center of the empty road. Well, we're here. We are here. Derek slowly curled and uncurled his fist. Cove didn't take his eyes off you or Derek. No one made a move for the pile. Yeah. The characters are currently 13. You broke the pause and grabbed a weapon. Derek wasn't going to be caught off guard. He stuck both his hands deep into the mass and came out with 2 balloons. Cove attempted to keep up and almost tripped over himself to get a water balloon of his own. In quick succession, Derek launched one shot at you and the other at Cove. Ah! You felt the impact of a solid object slamming against your chest before it burst into a million pieces, and a shock of cold water seeped into the front of your dress. Cove was left sputtering and with a dark stain at the lower edge of his top. He shook the hit off and chucked the water balloon directly at Derek in return. It exploded against his right shoulder. No one was dry anymore, and no one was safe. The war was on. You threw yours at Derek. It landed true and added a second dripping blotch on Derek's favorite jersey. Eep! We're even, Derek.
It's on.
Yeah. Not for long. The 3 of you elbowed against the others to dig into the pile and restock your supplies. Politely taking turns was out of the question. The water balloon fight was in full force. Derek sprinted up and down the street, making himself into a moving target. He'd only make a mad dash for the center area when he ran out of balloons. Cove had no fear of being an easy mark and stayed right by the laundry basket, lobbing strike after strike at you and Derek. You hid in your home's doorway and took shots from cover. The walls of your family household proved to be a perfect line of defense. You rarely had the chance to get a balloon and throw it, but the boys almost never got a clear shot at you. The glitch. I am attracted to women. Laughter and water splashes filled the normally quiet Sunset Bird neighborhood. You were convinced the mean grandparents would jump out and shout about the noise. Luckily, no one interrupted your revelry, and even if someone had, they would have been putting their dryness at risk by confronting your group. Rapidly, the amount of balloons dwindled until each person only had one left in hand, and the laundry basket had nothing except a little puddle at the bottom, with scraps of rubber scattered in it. Arms were held high in the air, taking aim, and eyes shifted from one option to the other. Derek wound his hand further back. Cove and you couldn't take your eyes off him. Your teeth gritted as you tried desperately to calculate where the balloon would fly. Would it be Cove or you? However, Derek chose neither. He launched it straight up in the air. It reached an impressive height. You could barely see the speck of yellow against the vast blue sky. Until it inevitably sailed down and smacked against the tarmac. Derek broke into more snickers the exact moment the balloon broke into 1,000 drops of water. He wasn't the only one amused by the stunt. Cove's smile bent and he opened his fingers to let his balloon drop harmlessly to the ground. Cove didn't pick it back up. Instead, he brutally brought his foot against his own weapon and decimated under his heel. A jovial truce had formed between the two. Remember playing Kim Kardashian game where Avatar was like, "Want to come to the party?" And I said no, and the game was over. Nice. Last time I showered? Today. I showered today, destabilized. You threw it at Cove. But that ceasefire didn't have to apply to you. Without mercy, you pelted Cove with a final blow. It splattered against his collarbone, and he yelped at the unexpected soaking. He shot you a look that might have hit as hard as your balloon, if he hadn't paired it with a wry smirk. Cove applauded the success of your sneak attack. That was how the grandest battle your neighborhood had likely ever seen came to an end. You were all dripping wet and out of breath, and you couldn't be happier. Derek rubbed his hands together in satisfaction before crouching to the ground to start collecting tiny bits of water balloon debris. Cove strolled around to gather the confetti-like trash on his own accord as well. There didn't have to be a discussion, and Derek and Cove had that quality in common, a distaste for litter. You appreciated that about both of them, and joined in to help pick up the pieces off the ground. You quietly wandered around filling your fists with the rubbery remains as the sun crept behind the condo roofs. Take a bath with all my roommates' Lush products? Pass. Wash my feet? I mean, yeah. No, Jen, I don't pee in the shower. I never pee in the shower. Your shadows grew longer in the waning light. You felt the damp cling of your clothes more acutely as the excitement died down. Your team managed to finish cleaning before night had completely fallen. All the trash was dumped into a tall green trash can at the side of Cove's house. With all that remained of the carnage being a few drying watermarks spotting the street, your group had returned to the state you'd originally started in. Directionless relaxation. Cove had been perfectly willing to return to his house while still wet and scrounge up fresh glasses of lemonade. Plus, he had your little umbrellas tucked under his arm. It was a struggle to balance it all. But Cove took one for the team as someone who actually lived there. You and Derek didn't have to go in and make a mess at the Holden home, though you imagined Cove's dad wouldn't have cared. He passed a drink to you and one to Derek, then used his free hand to flip the laundry basket over. It was less flimsy than it looked because Cove sat on it, and it didn't buckle at all. Derek politely passed on the seat Cove provided. He remained standing while shifting his weight from one foot to the other. You sat on the basket with Cove. There was plenty of room on the other side, so you took it easy. The basket still didn't break. But the line of Cove's shoulders did shake and bend when he settled next to him. Cove quietly took a sip of his lemonade. Derek circled the top of his glass with the tip of one finger, watching Cove.
Are you alright?
How's your hand? Cove savored another taste of the drink, let out a refreshed sigh, and then answered.
It's okay.
It's still fine. Cool. The ritual of checking on him was complete, and Derek could only chuckle bashfully over his habit. Cove smiled over the rim of his cup. There was comfort in knowing Derek would always care. Before enjoying the rest of the lemonade, Cove remembered to anoint his cup with one of the mini tropical umbrellas. Derek and you both got your own from the box. You got to have pretty fancy lemonade after all. The air was warm enough to be comfortable even with your wet clothes. Lemonade, little umbrellas, and good company. That was what days like these were for. Couldn't get much better. Cove agreed contentedly without you even having to say so. Summer really is the best season.
Same.
I think so too. I was just thinking about that. Great minds think alike. And fools seldom differ. A gentle expression rested on Derek's face as he spoke softly. Be nice if things could be like this all the time, huh? Sometimes I wish my attention span would last for gaming. I get bored with it so easy. Same with gambling when I lived in Vegas. I can read for hours and hours or binge a great show. Go figure. Yeah, I mean, if something doesn't catch your interest, it doesn't catch your interest. You know, there's... I don't have the attention span to get good at video games. Any game that requires skill, I'm not going to be good at. I don't have the patience for it. But then Derek lifted his glass and spoke in mock outrage to the world at large. Why can't it always be summer break? Despite it being an obvious joke, Derek's word struck a chord with Cove. His total chill hardened into seriousness. He downed his second glass of lemonade and hopped onto his feet. You were gently jostled by his action. I'm gonna go check something. You should come. Both of you. He considered that a sufficient offer because Cove simply walked back to the front of his house and left the empty glass at the side of the door. Derek's gaze followed his friend and he lifted one brow. What are we gonna see? You'll see when we get there. You're probably gonna try to talk me out of it, so you don't need to know now.
What?
He almost dropped his cup. Derek twisted his head to track Cove's moves with his saucer-wide eyes. Jamie is gonna get it. Oh yeah, I'd take that bet.
Come on.
Still completely confident, Cove strolled up the road. Derek gulped, but not the lemonade. He pointed a panicked glance at you. We should go. You pushed yourself off your seat and stood by Derek. All right. Derek hooked his open hand through the side handle of the laundry basket. He jogged on his tiptoes over to Cove's condo. The bin bumped along against the street behind him. He flung it in front of him and left it there in the entry. He placed his half-empty lemonade by Cove's. Hammer guys? I prefer, base, simple games. You were right behind him. You dropped the little umbrellas into the laundry basket, and completed the set of glasses by placing yours next to theirs. Let's go. After another light jog, you caught up to Cove. He was going at a leisurely pace, and smirked when he saw the two of you in the corner of his vision. Hey. Hi. Together, you, Cove, and Derek left your neighborhood and returned to the main sidewalk that you took to reach the grocery store hours earlier. An exchange of glances between you and Derek was the only interaction you had during the walk. Cove kept his sun-kissed face forward and his mouth shut. Shopping wasn't on your neighbor's mind, because that building was passed without acknowledgement. He was taking you further down the path. Sonic? I played a little bit of Sonic back in the day, but I didn't really like it as much as I liked Mario. Only about a minute later, your progress is halted by a row strikingly orange traffic cones and strings of droopy "Do Not Cross" banners.
Should
we go around? No, we're here. Huh? Derek stalled. Cove, however, got onto his knees in front of the blocked-off area. His eyes were glinting with intention. I saw this when we were leaving, but people were working on it. The concrete is still wet, and there's no one around now. Yet again, Cove had knocked a gasp out of Derek. You're not gonna mess it up, right? Cove didn't have to say anything to answer. He shared a quiet smile, and that was enough.
Oh, man.
Oh, Cove, that is really bad. The grin on Derek's face trembled, both from laughter and threatening to spill out, and the fear of getting in trouble. No, it's perfect. Thanks, Jamie. That's what I thought. Cove fearlessly stuck his finger into the muddy gray concrete. He slowly etched out a series of numbers. When he was done, the corner of the block had 2011 scribbled into it for all to see. He surveyed his work with pride while wiping his dirtied finger on the side of his pant leg. You drew a heart. It really pulled the whole thing together.
It's nice.
Derek stared hard at the soft, forbidden canvas, and slowly crouched down. He paused, bit his lip, then ultimately pressed one finger into the tacky surface to leave a small print. He left a sign of his presence there on that day, right along with Cove and you. Relief came to Derek's features once he'd finished. Hopefully it dries before anybody finds out. Yeah. The single word was only a whisper, but it was warm and pure. Thanks for taking us, Cove. You're welcome. Cove dusted his pants off as he stood after a job well done. Derek shot up as well, newly invigorated. He looked to the sky and squinted at the sun. The day was coming to an end, but no one could say your group had wasted it. That was true for the entire summer. No matter what happened when school started again, and when an unknown future arrived, you'd still have all the memories you made together when you had the chance, and the things you left behind. IB? I will consider it, Alaluna. Where'd the lemonade go? They drank it, Fence. More like a book. A little bit. It's you know, a little bit book, a little bit story. Or like a little bit book, a little bit choose your own. I mean, it's hard to say it's really completely choose your own because it's not. It doesn't tend to go on. Really, the main thing that changes is, you know, your relationship with certain characters. Play a real game? No. Alright, I gotta go, I'm gonna go refill my drink. I'm thirsty. Give me a second. Alright. Horror game? I'm not really into horror. So horror game? No, that's not gonna happen. I don't like horror. Yeah, Diana, that's a name that I've used on some sites. That is a name I've used on some sites, Diana, yes. Thanks, Pink. Thanks, Pink Season. Alright, let's see if we can get through. Let's try to get through one more. Let's see if we can get through. Let's see how fast we can get through. It'll probably be like an hour long again. How much did this even cost? I don't remember. I backed it on Kickstarter. I don't remember how much I paid for it. Where does Maddie come from? So back when I was in high school, I read, like, I always liked reading about mythology, and I read about Babylonian mythology, and I thought the dragon Tiamat, or not dragon, but I thought the goddess Tiamat, I thought she was pretty cool. So I decided to name myself after, go with Tiamat as a screen name. By the way, I'd never played Dungeons & Dragons. I'd never played Final Fantasy. So I had no idea that Tiamat was in either of those franchises. I took the name literally from Mesopotamian mythology. So yeah, I just named myself after Tiamat, the goddess. And someone I sort of talked to online, someone I started chatting to online, nicknamed me Tiamati. So I started using that. Alright. So what does everybody think? Should I do the next one? Should I do soiree? Soiree? Or save that for another, or save it for another time. Team Eddie be my female? No. No, GN, no. Yes, please. No. Do it. Next one. Alright, so this will probably take like another hour. These are long ones. You'd whiled away the morning, doing whatever struck your fancy, and now you were recharging with lunch. With nothing on the horizon, you were free to spend as much or as little time on your plate as you wanted. It was while you were thinking on all the possibilities for your afternoon that your moms approached you.
Hi.
Hi, Jamie. You okay? Both full, you nodded in reply. To your surprise, they both sat with you at the table. Based on the time, you had wondered if they were joining you for a meal, but neither of them brought anything.
Alright.
Great, we wanted to have a little chat with you. The qualifier little did nothing to downplay the situation. Your chewing slowed as your eyes widened, looking from one parent to the other. Anything that required both of them to talk to you must be something big. Who are these women? These are the protagonist's mothers. It was unsettling. You didn't like being the only one not knowing what was going on. Stomach churning, you waited for them to fill you in.
There.
Aw, don't look so worried. It's nothing scary. Promise. There's a soiree at the Cypress tomorrow night. Your ma and I are going. The Cypress was the country club your moms were part of, and where Elizabeth played golf. It seemed like every other month they had some event or another, all with fancy names like soiree. Hi, destabilized. Soiree. Chewing your lip, you wondered what this had to do with you. Mom chuckled at your poorly concealed reaction. Leaning in, Ma took your hand and squeezed it. We've decided to make the night a bit special. Elizabeth's going to be allowed to stay home fully alone for the first time.
Sorry.
You'll still be coming to the party with us. It's Elizabeth's night to party with no family around, not yours. Sorry. You've got to wait a couple more years. What's the soiree going to be like? The usual. Well, mostly. We wanted to make it a special night for you, too. So we've got something a little extra planned. That was unexpected. Interested, you listened. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Swingers? I mean, you never know. Your parents shared a look across the table. You cleared your throat, reminding them that you were waiting. They couldn't keep dropping such hints and then turn coy when the conversation was about to get good.
Well?
Since it's a pretty fancy party... Hey, J-Dot. That's still chaperoned. Played D&D for a while. I never played D&D. I did play a little bit of Vampire the Masquerade. And, there was a superhero one that they did. Aberrant. White Wolf did a superhero RPG, Aberrant. I played a little bit of that as well. Let's do a Smash a Path. Pass. I smashed both of them. I'd smashed both of them, Bacons. What's going on? Nothing much, J-Dot. And attendees are allowed to bring a guest. We thought it might be a nice opportunity for you to invite someone yourself as a date, if you want. Your eyes widened as the words sunk in. Your mom's continued, and it was a struggle to keep up. Even though we'll be at the party too, you don't need to worry about us getting in your way. You'll be free to eat, dance, and enjoy the music as you see fit. but no leaving the property. Ma nodded at Mom's interjection.
Isn't that great?
Yes, as long as you don't leave the party. And if you'd rather bring just a friend, that's a-okay too. Just want to watch them smash each other? Oh, just look up some lesbian porn, Milk Bee. You didn't even know how to react. Your parents were smiling at you, clearly expecting a response, but you were still too shocked to formulate anything of the kind. You hadn't imagined this was where the talk was going.
Don't worry about it.
The soiree isn't until tomorrow, so you've got time. Just let us know your plans before we're heading out. Show my ponies? Not tonight, Valium, not tonight. Hi, Vicky Levi. Not gonna show my pony collection tonight. Sometime in the next couple days, I'll try to tidy them up, and so sometime when I'm filming on my phone, I can try to show them again. Love the style of the game. So do I. And that's all. We'll leave you to your lunch now. Your moms rose from their chairs in unison, disappearing to another part of the house. You barely noticed their departure. All you could think of was what had just happened. The remnants of your lunch stared up at you from your plate. You were glad to go back to eating. Yes, Fence. Most of them got knocked over. They're pretty much all knocked over. What's my favorite pony? Fluttershy. Where Jamie's mom's trying to get Jamie into scandalous activities. They are absolutely Jamie Cove shippers. Backlash? Not really, Glitch. Peanuts poster from? I got it at a I forget who the artist was, but I got it at a a convention. Comic convention. You were glad to go back to eating. You wolfed down the rest of your food, clearing your plate as you thought about how you'd like to spend tomorrow evening. Even though you'd relocated to your bedroom, your head was stuck on the conversation that had unfolded at the dining table downstairs. You knew that... You wanted it to be a date. Hell yeah. The prospect of having your first date made it impossible to sit still. You couldn't help but jiggle your foot as you laid on your bed, contemplating the possibility. That night being a date would mean actually asking someone out. The little you knew of that came from what you'd seen on TV and movies, and what you'd heard about from kids at school. Your moms hadn't even entertained the idea of you dating until now. You went over possible words and phrases in your head, setting up scenarios and smooth segues before tearing them down and trying something else. You realized that you'd been picturing Cove as the one you were asking. Smiling, you closed your eyes at the daydream crystallizing in your head. You let your train of thought continue a little longer. You clearly pictured his eyes, the way he rubbed his arm when he was nervous and tried your best to guess what he might do next. He was nice. You liked him. You knew you were supposed to be friends, but you just liked him. A lot. I've never been to a brony convention. Another time, Valium. Brooklyn? Who is who, Brooklyn? Autumn of my winter. Ponies, please. Another time, Autumn. Fence? So, Fence, you can choose... Yeah, there isn't a way to see, like, how you chose your character, like... There isn't a way to show your character, but you do get to choose your character's pronouns. For mine, I chose non-binary, they, them pronouns. So, Frederick? I mean, not banned, but I do still, as a trans person, I absolutely side-eye people who still obsess over Harry Potter. You know, the people who are still fans of it and all that, especially the ones who still make it part of their personality. I absolutely side-eye those people. You wouldn't be able to stop thinking of him even if you wanted to. And you didn't. Sighing, you shifted position on the bed, resting your arms on the windowsill. A flock of birds caught your eye and led your gaze as they crossed the sky. You watched the birds grow smaller and less distinct until they disappeared from sight. Sparkle, Twilight Sparkle. I really like Twilight Sparkle as well. There are certain aspects of Twilight Sparkle that I definitely relate to. Yes, Twilight Sparkle is the purple one. But otherwise, like, plenty of aspects of her that I don't relate to. For example, I am not an organized person. Pinkie Pie. I love Pinkie Pie as well. What about Derek? I mean, he's cute, but he's not Cove, is my character's thinking. They're just books. I mean, I tend to disagree, Johnny. I am less in favor of separating art and artist than some people might be. Especially when that artist is still alive, honestly. Like the snap of a hypnotist's fingers, you were released from the trance and left with a goal of your own. You were going to take a walk. You ambled through the familiar streets of your neighborhood, picking your path at a whim. Why are ponies so popular? It's the personalities, Battleborn. It's the personalities, and it's a well-made show. It's... What about my favorite pony? She's very quiet and very kind. Do I have Fluttershy? Yeah, I've got a Fluttershy, stuffed Fluttershy. And yeah, what made My Little Pony Friendship's Magic so popular, it's a genuinely well-made show made by people who were making something that they would want to watch. And that's key when making anything. The characters have really well-defined and rich personalities. And I mean, there are, like, you know, the first episode, or the two-parter, it's a good story for the two-parter that opened the series. Would Fluttershy rage about politics? Yeah, maybe. I like Rainbow Dash better. Rainbow Dash has the type of personality I don't like. She's a braggart. Like Fluttershy, or Rainbow Dash is a braggart, and I find that irritating. I mean, I don't know that there's ever been a brony convention in nearby Valium. It was as quiet as ever, with tourists choosing to congregate in the shopping area near the beach, rather than venture into the sleepy residential zones. Ponies are the bomb? Indeed. You continued down the road, and soon found yourself at the shore. The fresh, salty air hit you first, rolling to meet you over the grassy dunes that tickled your legs, followed by the familiar view of the sea stretching out across the horizon. Do I prefer MLP over Marvel? No, I do prefer Marvel. That was what I grew up on. Marvel is very much Princess Luna. Oh, I love Princess Luna. Princess Luna is fun. She's awesome. But, like, I grew up on Marvel. It's always going to be, you know. Yeah, whatever, destabilized. You came to a halt. A lone figure was standing in the ocean, the water reaching up to his knees. Though he had his back to you, you recognized the familiar silhouette as Cove's. It made sense that you'd find him here. He always was in his element by the sea. Alaluna, the one I watched was My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. That was the generation, that was the My Little Pony series that I watched. You had no idea if you heard her arrival or if it was a coincidence, but he looked over his shoulder. Your eyes met. I don't have any tattoos at all, Valium. You waved. Heart pounding, you thrust your arm in the air and waved for Cove's attention. Cove smiled at you. Bathed in the soft light of the afternoon sun, with his hair gently tousled by the sea breeze, he looked especially charming. He then fully turned around and began to wade through the water over to the shore. You relaxed after running into him. You were all right with this. Living Tombstone? Never heard of the Living Tombstone, Perry Plug. It just felt nice to have come across Cove right at this moment. The question of whether to invite him, and, if so, in what fashion, was in front of you, between leaping into a world unknown or enjoying the safety of the familiar.
Jamie.
Are you free right now? Not exactly. My moms are taking me to a soiree tomorrow at the country club. It was kind of a strange segue, but you wanted to get right to the point. A soiree, huh? Sounds exciting? Because I don't know if there are any good MLP games out there, Glitch. He was smiling politely, but you could tell that your outing mention hadn't sparked much interest. That didn't come as much of a surprise to you. Formal affairs and big gatherings were some of his least favorite things. But you were sure he'd attend if you were the one who invited him. You only had to do it. Cove tilted his head curiously at you. I actually want to check something later. Something I'm going to check later off camera. You resolved to make it a date. Cove continued to watch you expectantly. It was kind of thrilling to keep him in suspense. Jamie? Cove, I want you to be my date for the party. You spoke your thoughts clearly. Caught off guard, he lifted his hands in front of his chest out of surprise. Then he packed them down in a cross over his chest. Hey, Stephanie Rice. Sorry, Stephanie. To answer your earlier question, Stephanie Rice, no, I don't ever go out. What kind of games do I like to play? Visual novels, some, like, old JRPGs. He twisted his face to the side, no longer able to meet your eyes. He still couldn't hide the flush on his cheeks.
Oh my god.
Are you serious? I'm as serious as something serious. It's very serious, is what I'm saying. Good for you, Stephanie Rice. Oh, it's somebody's birthday? Oh, Tarp Lover. Yeah, shout out to Tarp Lover's friend, Fire. Happy birthday, Fire. Sorry, I totally missed it. Happy birthday to Fire. Comic Convention or Game Store? I mean, Comic Convention... Just... timing thing. Hey, Irene. Hey, Ugly. Hey there, Ugly girl. His lips were pressed tightly together, preventing any more words from slipping out. You could tell that he was nervous, but that was always easy to pick up on with him. Have I ever been to Europe? Scotland. I've been to Scotland, Llama. That's it. After another moment, he inclined his head, dipping it in a nod so slight that you might have missed it, had you been able to tear your eyes from him. Yay! Cove closed his eyes, trapped in his awkward pose. He was gripping his arm so tightly that the skin around his knuckles was fully taut. Are you okay? Cove exhaled at last, letting out a sigh that stretched into another tense silence. His stance loosened. His arms stayed crossed over his chest, but he was no longer clutching them like a shield. You didn't want to be the one to break the quiet. Thanks, Jamie. Give me a second. Give me a second, people. Ugh. Ugh. She won't be on camera, but I'll be, I guess I'm gonna have to tell my dad and mom, too. Not on my stream, Sunflower. No hentai on my stream. Get out of the house more? I know I probably should, Johnny. You're actually still not blocked destabilized. It's just some of your comments are getting auto hidden, and they're shitty comments, so I'm not revealing them. Right. I've got to let my moms know you're going. Can you come with me? Yeah. It was a relief that he'd thought enough to manage speech again. You hoped that, by the time you got to your house, he'd be able to manage full sentences once more. Emily is away? I have played, I think I did play Emily is Away, Roxy. The first one. Yeah, Nancy, Casey's up in my lap. Yeah, I actually did play the first Emily is Away. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really interesting and clever game. Cove went to where he discarded his things in the sand, tucking his shirt over his head and slipping on a pair of shoes, before joining you and setting off home. The two of you stepped inside the front door of your house. How old is this Cove person? They're 13 currently, Mew. The characters are currently 13. It was an action you'd taken together countless times, but your stomach had never churned quite like this on previous occasions. At the sound of the door opening, your mom poked her head into the hall.
Hello.
Ah, Cove, it's you. What a surprise. She chuckled at her own joke. Cove was always there, and she knew how close the two of you were. Bringing anyone other than him back would have been an actual surprise. Yeah, I might, Roxy. I might check out the other Emily is Stranges. Not sure I'd play them on stream, or if I'd actually, do, a, videos. What's this game even about? I mean, it's just about being young. It's about growing up. It's about relationships. How they, evolve over time. Hi, Mrs. Last. It's nice to see you. So I take it Cove's going to be our guest for tomorrow night? Yep.
Well...
And what kind of outing will it be? Her voice was hesitant but serious. Cove ducked his head down reflexively. You knew that he'd figured out what she was driving at. God, Casey! Stop! Stay away from my hand, Casey. You're so annoying. You're such an annoying cat. Hey, Amy. Happy birthday again to Fire. Happy birthday, Fire. I want to share something. It's like... Look at that big wet stain on my armrest now. Look at the wet stain she just left on my damn armrest. Jenny? It's my roommate's cat. Did she feed? No, it's just from her face. She rubbed her face on it. Like, that's just from her rubbing her face on my armrest. It's not pee. It's like, it's her wet nose and her drool. What does it look like? She could be so embarrassing sometimes. Thankfully, she spared you any follow-up questions and nodded in understanding. She wore a wispy smile. Ma's gonna be thrilled about this. Cove tilted his head back up, just slightly. He peeked through the longer strands of his hair. Never played Shadow of the Colossus or Ico. Just her, Mrs. Last? Even if you'd not been able to see his wide, worried eyes, you'd have heard the anxiety in his face. Your mom sighed and patted him on the arm. Oh, Cove, you're a great kid. Most parents hope that their kids meet such a special person someday. She glanced aside, a wry expression on her face. Someday is the real key word there. She turned back to you both. But you just had to move in right across the street at 8 years old. Mom crouched down, shaking her head, and put a hand on each of Cove's shoulders.
Okay.
Cove, I hope you're planning on being very good to Jamie. And I'm not just talking about tomorrow night. She nudged him playfully on the cheek with a fist. Cove, who had been blushing when all this began, was now as red as an heirloom tomato. Okay, yeah, I was. Or will? You don't have to worry. Cove's definitely going to be good to me. He'd better. There was a teasing tone to your voice. Between you and your mom, Cove was defenseless. He didn't speak further, his eyes locked down on his shuffling feet as he rubbed the scar on his arm. The redness remained intact. MG, what's happening? My character just asked Cove out on a date to a soiree. A soiree! I don't know why, but I always feel like soiree needs to be said in a weird, in a funny voice. A soiree! Okay, we've put Cove through the ringer enough. The big day isn't even here yet. You laughed and nodded along. There was still plenty of time to have fun. I'll give your folks a call and get everything squared away. She headed off to get the phone, leaving the two of you alone. Cove's eyes darted to you, and he shot you a quick, delicate smile before staring at the ground again. I'm gonna go across the street. Talk to my parents. Okay. See you tomorrow. Bye, Cove. He retreated from your home's entryway without another word. And the rest of the afternoon passed by just like that. We're in Scotland. So my mom's family is mostly around Edinburgh. So it was that region. City itself, some of the castles in the area. I know one year we went up to Loch Ness. I don't really remember it. And I remember one year going up to Glasgow. Back in your room, your mind was alight with visions of tomorrow night. The soiree was something, but not nearly as exciting as going on your first date. You were thrilled that Cove had actually said yes. that he was your genuine date to a party. You hugged your knees to your chest, overawed by the thought. The night couldn't come soon enough. The evening of the soiree had arrived, the daylight hours having slipped away in a blur. Up in your bedroom, you were getting ready for the big event. That was your intention, at least, but you hadn't settled on an outfit. Stationed in front of your wardrobe, you scanned over the clothing you had at your disposal. Though Ma had mentioned this event was a bit dressier than a normal get-together, you didn't necessarily have to comply. This game reminds me that I was so in love with my middle school sweetheart, and we are still friends today. Aw, so awkward. He asked me if I still liked him, and I was like, no, that's silly. Aw, that's cute, MG. That's sweet. I'm glad you're still friends. Glitch. As I've said, it is a game about growing up and about relationships and how they change over time. Something formal. You attempt to decide between the nicer pieces in your wardrobe, the ones that rarely had a chance to come out. You decided to dress formally because you honestly liked dressing up. It's fun to dress up once in a while. It's fun to put on a little black dress. There was something magical about the sheen of an elegant fabric and the cut of formal wear, something that transformed everyone into a more sophisticated version of their normal self. To start, you decided to wear a dress. The one you picked was light and had sheen. The silky material seemed to glide through your fingers as you took it from the wardrobe. It was a perfect fit for a summer evening party. I don't know, destabilized? I was an idiot. I shouldn't have written those stories destabilized. I shouldn't have written them destabilized. It was a foolish mistake. Have I dressed up recently? Halloween was the last time I dressed up. Destabilized, you are now spamming destabilized. Okay, oh. If you're gonna spam, shit talk me, I don't care, but spamming? Like, yeah, give it up. You began to get dressed, your fingers working stiff zips and awkward fastenings. It felt different against your skin, reminding you with every movement that you were dressed up. Whatever happened tonight, you were pleased that you'd gotten the opportunity to wear this. Dresses might be seen as reserved for girls for some people, but that wasn't a concept you bought into. If you wanted to wear one tonight, then you would. My character is non-binary. Now dressed, you gave yourself a final glance over before heading downstairs, ready to head out. You found your moms already waiting in the living room. They were putting the finishing touches on their outfits. Ma strapping her heel into a stiletto shoe, and Mom trying to fasten a bracelet single-handedly. They looked up as you entered. Ooh, well, they look fancy.
Oh,
Oh, Jamie, you look so nice. Don't you think, Pam?
thanks.
Thanks for dressing up, Jamie. I hope the party will be prepared for your arrival. You look sharp. Mom was still struggling with the bracelet. You lent a hand, literally, by taking one side and holding it as she secured the clasp. Thanks, kiddo. Mom then glanced over at the clock on the wall. Seeing where the hands were pointing, a frown creased her face. Thanks, MG. I mean, like, the stories I shouldn't have written them. It wasn't my story to write. So, like, I shouldn't have written that story. Give me a second here. There he is. There he is. I just want to open the curtains a little bit for seeing. There he's. Look, he's. He's a he's. Amethyst Sky for your book wish list. Thank you very much, Amethyst Sky. I like Sam. Anyway. Either hearts or books in the chat for Amethyst Sky. You're so sweet to me, Amethyst Sky. You're a sweetheart. I actually tend to disagree, MG. I think that there are some stories that are reserved for some people. Like, I don't know, I feel like, stories that are specifically about being gay, for example. Stories that are about the gay experience. A straight person's not going to understand the gay experience as well as a gay person does. Write gay characters and, do the research to get it authentic, but leave specifically gay stories to gay writers. When kink shame? For the most part, no, Roxy. For the most part, I don't kink shame. Anyway, when's Cove going to be here? Do you know? Disabled queer woman that isn't great, and I appreciate stories not written by people like me. Sure, Andy, what I would say is, like, abled writers, including disabled characters, great. Straight writers, including queer characters, great. Writers who've never been victims of sexual assault, writing characters who have, including characters who have been victims. A bit iffier at that point, but great, fine. It's just like, but don't write those specific stories. Don't write an able-bodied person should not write a disabled story, a disability story. Someone who's never been a victim of sexual assault should not write a story about. Like, they should not write a story that is about assault. You know? Include a character who's, like, it's fine to have a character who is the victim of one, but don't actually write that story if you've never been through it. Is sort of the way I feel about it. Hey, hijab. Eh. 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 He's getting here at 7. Mom pursed her lips as she stared at the hands ticking by on the clock. Alright. If he's not here in 5, I'll give his house a call. Elizabeth fluttered down the stairs, her eyes narrowed.
What?
You're still here? Yes, but not for much longer. Hopefully. Simply Chris. Thank you very much, Simply Chris. Drop some shades in the chat for Simply Chris. Wait, I know you're excited, but we haven't even said goodbye. And I want to go over how things are going to play out. Elizabeth sighed as Mom began listing the rules, ticking them off on her fingers. No ordering takeout or other deliveries. You can't have anyone else come over. Uh-huh. She nodded, resigned to her fate, listening to a set of rules she could predict without so much as a glance at a crystal ball. If anything happens, you can call us or go across the street to the Holdens. Keep the noise down. This house might be empty, but there are people all around in the neighborhood. Lucas, I didn't use being young as an excuse. I didn't use being young as an excuse. I said I was stupid. Usual house rules still apply. Don't do anything you wouldn't do if we were here.
All right.
And we'll be back no later than 11:30 p.m. But we'll call if there are any issues, so don't tie up the phone line all night. Right. All done? Can you go now? Oh, Elizabeth. Ma strode over and swept Elizabeth up in a hug. Your sister let out a small noise, her eyes widening, and suddenly looked much less like the smug teenager she acted like. You're such a big girl now. I still can't believe it. Elizabeth rolled her eyes. This wasn't the quick departure that she'd been hoping for. Any chance of it ending soon vanished as Mom joined in the hug. Neither can I. It feels like only yesterday that... Elizabeth groaned, trying to cut the reminiscing off without success. Hope when I'm a mom, I'm a cool, hot mom. Everyone wants the cool, hot mom. You joined in the hug. Mom and Ma held out their arms to you as you approached, welcoming you into a hug. Elizabeth whined, eager for this to come to an end already. I mean, I had to join in the hug. Yeah? You gotta do it. Even if you don't want to, when there's a group hug going on, you gotta join in.
Jeez!
Can you all just go? Jeez! Your family disentangled from the hug in time to catch the doorbell ringing. Join the hug, exactly. If you're... Whenever hugging someone would be embarrassing to them, you gotta do it. I did not write the script. Ooh, the guest of honor is here. She raced over to the door. As Ma predicted, Cove had arrived, and he was ushered inside.
Oh, nice.
You look very nice, Cove. Oh, thanks. He looked around the room, searching for a way out of that conversation, before his eyes met yours. Cove pulled his face into a smile. As he reciprocated, the tension in his face faded away. You watched him taking in your outfit, swallowing and grinning at you again. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Cove.
It's nice.
You look really nice tonight. I'm glad we got to do this. Going to a place dressed up, I mean. His words took you by surprise. It wasn't often that Cove commented on your appearance, but you were happy to accept the compliment. You attempted to control the grin spreading across your face. The small statement had made a big impact. You inspected his outfit in turn. Yeah, he doesn't look too bad there. He doesn't look too bad there, right? Looks pretty okay. You're looking good too. He smiled bashfully. Hotels? No idea. No idea where the nearest hotels would be. Thank you. Now that Mom had finished reiterating the rules to Elizabeth, who then scurried off to the sanctuary of her room, she came over to greet Cove. Hi, Cove. Nice to have you along for the ride. Thank you for letting me
You're
come.
welcome.
It's no trouble. You're always welcome. Mom's eyebrows rose in twin lines of concern. Let's all remember that for the foreseeable future we'll be neighbors who have to see each other every day.
Yeah.
Cove looked helplessly at your mom. Luckily, Ma came over and rescued him. Mom's the cautious sort, sweetie. You don't need to look so worried. Mom smiled reassuringly. She didn't intend to scare him. Ma laid a hand on her shoulder. We should get to the car. There's nothing fashionable about being late. As you made to follow your mom's, Cove held out a hand. Pausing, you waited for an explanation. He wilted under the force of your tension, letting out a long sigh. Both my dad and my mom insisted that, since this is a... He paused, pushing the hair back from his burning face, and forced himself to continue. It's a date, and kind of a fancy party. I needed to bring something. For you, for inviting me. The conclusion of the story caught you by surprise. You blinked, unsure if you'd slacked too much on your own preparations for tonight. You got me a present?
That's,
Not really. Just this. Black Velvet? Yes. This is Cove. He is indeed a boy. Cove reached behind himself to take something out of a back pocket. His hand returned to view with him holding a single small orchid by the stem. Cove threw his gaze to the floor, shyly inching his hand closer to you. Orchids are nice. It's my favorite. He twitched ever so slightly. Was that on purpose? You remembered my favorite flower and got one for me? His voice cracked under the strain of being confronted on what he had done. Yeah, that's what I did. Rick? Right now he is a boy. You're so wonderful. He sputtered a weak laugh, out of sheer anxiousness rather than humor.
I mean...
I'm not. You're the one who... No, I think you are. Okay. Thanks, Venom Sorceress. No ponies tonight, Vicky. Another time. Am I still a human? Allegedly, final viewing. He didn't have it in him to continue this conversation, even if that meant not being able to refute your assessment. Then you accepted the flower from him. Cove straightened himself out in response. Oh, May? I still plan to, yeah. I need to... Yeah. I still need to find a doctor for that, May. It's, I don't like making phone calls. I'm a millennial. I don't want to call people. So we're gonna be late if we keep standing here. Hi, Barney. Right, we better hurry. MG, holy shit. I'm sorry I can't give more like I used to now that I'm disabled. But you are a rock star. Your channel is so calm. Just don't start raging. Thank you for helping me through this tough time. MG, thank you so much, MG. Don't feel sorry. Any bit of money, like, I am very grateful for any donations. I am not worthy. Don't worry. You don't have to give me anything at all. Just the money I get from views is, you know, all I've ever expected to make. So thank you very much. For any donations. Hearts in the chat for MG. You pulled up at the country club. The sun had sunk deep into the horizon, the last of its light sleepily warming the oncoming night. Your moms led the way to the space around the back where the event was being held. Yeah, I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you made it too, Amethyst. Just give me some. I remember Amethyst. I remember MG. You were the only one who did give me super chats for a while. I remember you gave me like $100 one time. Like over the course of a couple hours, you gave me like $100, and yeah, I remember that. So yeah, you've already given me so much, MG. Don't worry. The place had been transformed through decoration, with smart tablecloths and elegant ribbons contributing to a festive atmosphere. Musicians dressed in matching black and white were setting up their instruments and flicking through pages of sheet music. And, as promised, there was a table covered in plates of carefully prepared food. Destination reached, your parents rounded on you and Cove. Things haven't kicked off yet, but don't let that stop you from enjoying yourselves.
Have fun.
We'll be around if you need us.
See you later.
Bye. Cove waved your moms off. Once they'd retreated a distance away, you found him watching you expectantly. What now? It wasn't a question, but a plea for help. You could tell that he definitely didn't know what to do with himself in this situation. We'll have to wait for some things to start, like the band, but there's stuff going on already. Cove perked up at that.
Really?
Oh? Do you want to do any of those? Whatever they are? Yeah, how about some introductions? You introduce Cove to people in your country club. I know most of these people because I've been brought here a lot over the years. You can meet them. Sure. It doesn't matter if you make a good impression or not. They'll be curious about you no matter what. You beckon for him to follow you and meet the other guests. Most of the attendees skew significantly older, or considerably younger, than the two of you, with only a few people around your age. Naturally, Cove greeted them with his easy warmth. Hey, Steph. Amethyst, it is a single-player game. Single-player only. Glitch, I have not started HRT. I haven't even called a doctor yet because I don't like making phone calls. Brooklyn, what was your question? Brooklyn, I missed your question. Why do I like these roleplay games? I don't know, it's fun getting into other... I don't know, it's just fun. Not that there weren't any difficulties. Sorry, could you repeat your name? It's Cove. Cove. They rolled the word over their tongues, clearly surprised. Hey, Kira. How unusual. But lovely, of course. As you'd expected, there was interest in who you'd brought to the party, and what your relationship with him was. Mario? Probably not, Autumn. I'll do it in another live volume. Sometime when when I'm filming on my phone. Sometime when I'm filming on my phones, I can show the ponies. Janie, good to see you. This your date? Well, yes. The resulting coups from the group made it difficult to keep a straight face. Yes, final viewing. Still, some people focused on the important things. How you were dressed. Don't you look snappy in that outfit? You've scrubbed up well. With the basic niceties taken care of, you moved on to something else to pass the time. Took a seat to relax. We should pick out a table. Missed the Mario? Yeah. Oh, Brooklyn, no. No, I've never been the victim of any sort of assault. Okay. You found a place to sit at the edge of the party area, where it was quieter, with fewer people bustling around. New Pokemon? I've never played any Pokemon, Kira. Never played Pokemon in my life. Why did I headbang that hamburger the other... What? I'm not sure what you mean by headbang the hamburger. You pulled out a chair and sat down. Cove, already seated, was stretching. These clothes are kind of uncomfortable. He flexed an arm at the elbow, frowning, before twisting it back behind him. Yep.
Aww.
My arms can't move the same as normal, like I'm gonna rip it if I do anything. I mean, I don't play with the ponies, Rick. Very strange, me and my housemate remind you of me and Chantel. Okay. I don't mind it. That's cool. I might not either, if it didn't pull at me every 5 seconds. He toyed with one cuff of his shirt, wedging a finger between the fabric and his skin. Now that you had a spot of your own... You stayed chatting with Cove at the table. In no time at all, the sun set in full, the lights faded, and the opening notes of the band's first song rang out. Exactly, Glitch. Thank you, Glitch. I don't play with them, I collect them. Collected. I don't bother picking... I don't collect them anymore. I haven't picked any up in, like, a decade. Bayonetta and Otome. Fun combination of games. Who would leave a country packed with ponies to come to a non-pony country? I don't know, Venom. I don't get it. You and Cove stopped what you were doing, turning to contemplate the party that had been steadily unfurling while you were distracted. It was much busier now, both in terms of people and activity. The first steps were taken onto the dance floor, some tentative, others eager, and even if the band hadn't been playing, the constant level of chatter would have ensured that it wasn't a quiet night. With the party now in full swing, your options had increased. Dance! Let's dance! You asked Cove to dance. Let's dance. Hey, Cove, let's dance. Really? He blurted the word out without thinking, then clamped a hand over his mouth before anything else could slip out. Really? Cove sucked in a deep breath, as if trying to inhale confidence as well as oxygen into his lungs. He gave you a single, serious nod before holding a trembling hand out towards you. I am not a furry. You felt nervous right al- you felt confident. You were at ease with Cove, and had nothing to fear from a dance. Quite the contrary. I am not a furry or scaly glitch. I am neither. You stood tall, ready to make an impression. You took Cove's outstretched hand. His skin was hot and damp. You squeezed it, giving him a reassuring smile, and together you carefully made your way onto the dance floor. You took your places standing before each other, hands still entwined. No, Glitch, I said I am not scaly either. I am not a furry or scaly, I said. Alaluna, I don't know. Nah. I don't think that's something that that I would be good at. Frowning, Cove assessed the situation, trying to puzzle it out like a math problem, before putting his remaining free hand on your shoulder. I don't have a boner. Want to be a hot anime cat girl? You were happy with that. Cove was comfortable with this stance, and the arrangement was good for you too. You gazed up at Cove, who seemed suddenly aware of the few inches he had over you. Cove awkwardly glanced down at you from the corner of his eyes, looking almost apologetic. Want to be a hot anime cat girl? Who doesn't, MG? Who doesn't want to be a hot anime cat girl? The music had begun. You both moved eagerly, trying to catch up to it, but your feet took you in opposite directions. Fumbling, the two of you shuffled from side to side, attempting to mirror each other's movements, but always winding up at odds. I try, Alaluna, I try. It was difficult. Cove was struggling just coordinating his own limbs to the rhythm, let alone matching your movements. Aw, thanks, Milquetoast. When Cove's foot ghosted over yours, it was decided it'd be safest for everyone if you simply swayed to the tune. You rooted yourself to the floor, your torso gently moving to the sounds. Like Velvet, I would assume you take the suits off if you're going to the washroom. Like I would assume if you're going to take a shit, you take the suits off. Gratefully, Cove kept his movements small and subtle in the same way. You were distinctly aware that almost all the other dancing couples were men paired with women, unlike you and Cove. Didn't bother you. I'm his Enbei. This was a welcoming environment. Your two moms wouldn't be members otherwise. Not being the majority didn't mean there was any problem with it. Lilith, I do not have any memberships yet. I do not have any memberships. Your confidence spilled out over onto Cove. He tried to be less timid in his demeanor. Though it didn't improve his dancing, it didn't make it worse, and you hoped that it meant he was having a better time. All was fine for a little while. You weren't going to win any dancing accolades with Cove, but that didn't matter when you were treasuring just being so close to him. Cove stepped out of sync with the music, knocking against you. He flinched back, nearly pulling you over in the process. You took a hand from him and held it up, halting proceedings so you could both get your bearings once more. We should have stuck to the hokey pokey. Instead of laughing, Cove looked off. Maybe we should have. Then you took Cove's hand once more and gingerly resumed swaying to the music. Cove reluctantly followed suit, his steps small and apprehensive. He mumbled something quietly. This is a long song. You weren't sure how to take that, whether it meant that something was wrong or if Cove didn't really like dancing, or if he didn't like dancing with you specifically. It made the last couple of minutes of the song uncomfortable, as you weighed up what to do and what to say to Cove. When the musicians laid their instruments down, Cove dropped her hands as if they were burning him. He trailed off the dance floor as quickly as he could without breaking into an outright run. Thanks, Glitch. Get a stream this? It's me playing a visual novel. It is intended to be chill. When you caught up, he said nothing. You tried to get him into doing something else, but eliciting anything from him was now impossible. You focused over Cove, wondering how he was finding the evening. He sighed. He was so quiet and unobtrusive that you wouldn't have caught it if you hadn't been watching him. His gaze was roaming. With how far away his eyes seemed, whatever he was searching for couldn't be found at this party. He turned to face you before you could say anything. Clearly not, Zed. I clearly shouldn't have been so confident. I want to sit down. We can do that. Cove began to move, and you instinctively followed him. Yet instead of taking a seat at one of the many free tables as you'd expected, Cove ignored them as he purposely strode out of the party area. Where are you going? Your call didn't seem to register with him as he continued forward, out onto the greens of the golf course. You went after him, trying to watch out for the uneven ground underfoot. The clods of earth dislodging in games of golf were perfect for snatching unwary feet even in daylight. I hope you enjoy it, Sung Jinwoo. Amethyst Sky? This game is entirely dialogue, Amethyst Sky. Just want to be an alcoholic, miserable old fool? In fairness, MG, I can think of worse retirement plans. Yeah? Up ahead, Cove didn't appear to have had any difficulty traversing the uneven land. He settled down on one of the little hills of the golf course. You joined him, still unsure over what was going on. Cove dissociating? Yeah. RPG, sort of, Venom. It's sort of an RPG of sorts. It's a visual novel. You didn't say anything. Closing his eyes, Cove breathed a sigh of relief. When he opened them again, he smiled sheepishly at you.
Sorry.
You can go back to the party. You didn't budge from your spot. From here, the party was just a glowing haze in the distance. You didn't want to leave him behind. I'm not going to leave you here. And I'm not going to drag you back if you don't want to. Oh, thanks. Now that Cove was more at ease, you tried to find out what had caused him to take flight in the first place. Even thinking the words pained you, but you had to know the answer. Did going to the party with me make you uncomfortable? Logically, you knew that the issue was likely the activity rather than your company. Your heart strained with the worry that you had been at fault, though. Was it because I made you dance? His abrupt departure from that was another indicator that something had gone awry.
What?
No! He shook his head emphatically. It's not anything I did tonight. It's definitely not anything you did either. Relief overcame you. You'd suspected as much, but with this being your very first date, it was hard to be sure. Cove attempted to fill in the gaps of understanding. I don't want to think about going back into the party. I just feel ready to go home. Don't try running that far. Cove didn't appear to notice your half-joke. You wouldn't put it past him to give it a go. Cove sat there quietly, gazing into the shadowy hills and valleys of the golf course. A comfortably warm wind rustled between you, tousling his hair. Are they gay? This is a bi novel? The player character... So the player character, you choose the gender. Boy, girl, or non-binary. KB Collision? No, like my mother's. Like, because the main character, Collision, the main character has two moms. So, like, yeah. Should I get my mom and my other mom? Was not, yeah. How's the game going? Yeah, fun. But yeah, May. The player character can be man, boy, girl, or non-binary. I chose non-binary. It was so far away from the hubbub of the party, you could even make out the quiet sound of crickets chirping. This is kind of like how we first met. Do you remember? Of course I do. You'd liked him from that very first day. It's so weird. That was a long time ago now. You thought back to the day when Cove first arrived in the neighborhood. He had run away from Mr. Holden, taking solace in the hills behind your house. That had been late, too, on a clear night like today. Looking at the sky, you wondered if the stars that were looking down were the same ones as then. Cove's face was brighter, though you could still see signs of the strain that had caused him to depart from the soiree. When he'd first sat down, he had curled up like a pill bug, hunched over, knees pressed to his chest and arms wrapped around them. He'd unwound as he'd been talking, straightening up, his hands free to gesticulate. It was as though the two of you had constructed your own little world away from everything else, and he was beginning to perk up. The small smile that had crept onto his face was quickly ushered away by a frown. I can't believe I'm on a date. Cove followed up on the statement before you could react. He spoke in a distinctly whispered tone, as though you were the only one in the world who he could share these words with. After I said I wanted to come, I wanted to take it back. Not because I really didn't want to do it, because... I don't know. It seemed like a big deal. It made me feel bad, somehow. I started feeling like I couldn't do it, even though I just wanted to do it. I guess it was sort of like having to give a presentation in front of the class, even though it was just me and you doing something like we always do. He charged on, his words streaming out. I still could do it because thinking about not being there and you, what you might think if I did take it back, made me feel way worse than whatever else I felt.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Jamie. I'm sorry I can't just deal with stuff like this and have to make everything so complicated. You smiled at him. You then took his hand. His skin was cool to the touch. His fingers coiled delicately around yours. Hey, hubris. He finally moved his head to look you straight on, eyes meeting yours.
Jamie.
Thanks for inviting me, Jamie. You stared back at him, not comprehending. But didn't it make you feel bad?
Yeah.
It did, when I had to think about how I was actually doing it. but getting to hear that you wanted me to come made me feel good. He flushed and had to break the fragile eye contact made.
I mean,
I want to keep doing things with you, no matter what, even if I feel weird sometimes. I'm not gonna pressure Frederick. I'm not gonna pressure Cove Frederick. Of course not. Oh, hey, Courtney. That's the kissing. We'll see song. I don't want to stop being there. I don't want you to stop wanting me there. Because when I do whatever it is for real and you're with me, it all feels better in the end. It always does. You felt a tug on your hand and found Cove in the process of standing up. You joined him on your feet. No, it's not hentai. No hot mom love scenes, Courtney. You tilt your head in an unspoken question. Cove smiled awkwardly, brushing some grass off the side of his pants.
wanna dance with me?
You already danced with me. I didn't think you had a good time. It's a dance party, right? And I think... He trailed off, brow furrowed as if he was trying to figure out the answer himself. Nodding slowly, he continued. I think I want to dance with you again, before it's over. With the only words he had to explain gone, he just held up his hand to you. His expression was soft. I want to dance with you too. Then you reached for his hand and took it in yours once more. Frederick, Eki means like perverted. I think it's related to sounding like H, with H being used for hentai. Cove bit his lip as your fingers entwined together, his cheeks reddening. You returned hand in hand. With the party reaching the end of a long evening, dancing couples had become scarce. One pair among many were hard to notice, but now the space around you would act as a spotlight. Not that there were many left to watch you. He was still at ease, even buoyed by the dissipated crowd. This time there was a spring in his step as you walked onto the dance floor together. Cove kept hold of the hand you had given him back on the little hill. He rested the other on your shoulder. Cove hesitated while you waited for a sign. With the song in progress before you'd stepped out to dance, there was no signal for the right moment to begin. The same thought occurred to Cove, who shrugged his shoulders with keeping form. Taking that as your starting point, you cautiously began to sway. Cove readily followed your example. You danced wordlessly, dimly aware of the music guiding you. You were more focused on Cove, whose attention was firmly fastened on you. Unlike before, when he had nervously looked down at his feet as if trying to keep them in check, his eyes were steady. KB Collision? Yeah, you find me a 13-year-old who's not socially awkward, KB Collision. He didn't even allow himself to be shaken when your knees knocked together against each other, and you both briefly fumbled your steps. Instead, he chuckled, and it was as soft as the roll of the morning tide. His lips curved into a shy crescent. You had been drifting into a dreamlike state, but that expression, one that you'd never seen before, pinned you back to reality. Your heart was caught in a clinch, held tight and yet straining with the effort of thumping harder than it had after any amount of physical exertion. Amethyst? I mean, you don't really get to see them dancing. MG, what does based mean? Based, MG is usually like, I don't know exactly what it means, but it's like great. It's a positive qualifier. As if in response, his hand began to hold yours with increased strength. He pulled you ever so slightly more towards him. Yeah, Frederick, 13. Yeah. At this time. For now, they are 13. Thoughts about what it meant or what might happen when it was over eased, and the both of you were able to simply have this dance. Time fell away as you took in the small moment. Miss Abella, I don't think that I do. Nah, Courtney. We got a few more... 4 more moments at 13. And then the end of being 13. All too soon, the song reached its conclusion. You could have continued quite contentedly for some time more. You stilled, one hand of yours in his. Cove showed no signs of moving, either. It was hard to let go. You heard your name called out, and that brought the dance truly to an end. You both spun to find Mom yelling for you and Cove. Beside her, Ma was shaking her head.
Sorry.
It's time to go home, Lenny. I had to get a hold of them somehow. What did you want me to do, sneak up on them? Her chosen method was admittedly better than that. You still winced at how dazed you'd been when she'd announced her arrival. Cove looked so embarrassed that you seriously worried about him fleeing again. This time you didn't think he'd stop until he was out of the grounds. Despite Cove's reaction to the scene with your moms, to you it had been a perfect ending to the evening. You were so glad you got a chance to dance with Cove once more before the night was over. And it definitely was over now. You didn't need to say anything to Cove. The two of you marched wordlessly over to your parents, who were still bickering playfully. Standing shoulder to shoulder, your parents surveyed you and Cove. You wondered if they were checking that they were returning Mr. Holden's son in the same state that he'd left the house.
So?
That was quite a night, huh, gang? Wasn't it just? Cove managed a self-conscious smile. Yeah. What are my thoughts on this game and the characters? I mean, I'm enjoying it. I think that it's a well-written game. The scenarios are longer than they should be. I will say that the scenarios do tend to drag at times. They needed to edit down a little bit. I will say that. Sometimes you hit like in some of them, you hit a point where it's like, okay, so it's almost over. Oh, no, it's going to go on for another... It's going to go on for another 20 minutes. Okay, yeah. So I do think that that's a problem, but other than that, yeah, it's you know, the rating is charming. The characters are all cool. Ma was smiling too, with an expression so soft it could have cradled a newborn chick.
Well?
And how was your very first date? Please don't start on them already. It technically hasn't even ended yet. Fine, fine. Go to late night takeout food? I mean, it depends on my mood. For late night, McDonald's. Or pizza. Good. Well, we'd better get ready ourselves. We'd better ready ourselves to get back to Elizabeth. If we're lucky, the house might still be standing.
Pam?
Oh, shush. Your mom swatted your mom playfully, laughing at the comment. Do I feel like I can be in the character's shoes? I mean, I can relate. I can sort of put myself in their headspaces. I never played Maniac Mansion, no. You cast one last look at the party. You saw people exchanging farewells and suppressing yawns. Most of the faces were happy ones, despite the weariness that was starting to creep in. Cove's head was angled away from you. As you watched, wondering what he was looking at, he came around and met your gaze. It was strange. Though it had only been a few hours of your life, you felt a little older as a result of attending the party. It was like a step away from the world of your childhood, where dressing up is reserved almost exclusively as a form of play, towards something new that you hadn't yet grasped. Did I date in middle school? No, Collision. How old was I when I had my first date? Grade 10, maybe? I think it would have been like grade 10 when I had... Although I didn't really date. I just sort of met a girl and sort of hung out with her a bit. That into? I mean, nobody was into me. Turning away from the final moments at the party, you shelved that thought for another time as your moms eagerly led the way back to the car. As you and Cove tailed after them, you felt childlike once more. Alright, there we go. Finally reached the end of that one. Whoo-wee. Dun Didn't start dating until I was 15. Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe 15 or 16 probably would have been when I first started. Dated from elementary school. Better than a lot of people did in high school? Yeah. Alright, so 3 hours. 3 hours to get through 2 goddamn scenarios. Jesus Christ, those are long. Like, that's... Like I said, they do drag. They are over long, I feel like. But I wasn't allowed to date till 16. I had to be home by 10. Loved Maniac Mansion. We found it in a magazine that made you program the computer yourself. I loved it ever since. I remember the Maniac Mansion... I remember watching Maniac Mansion, the TV show. But, no, never played the game. Yeah, it's, So yeah, this is a good time to end it, because my throat sore. I need to stop now. What are the games gonna play in stream? So, what I'm thinking is... Well... Let me think. 1, 2... 2, 3 more... 3 more of these scenarios. I suppose next week I will do these 2. The week after that, I think I might take a break from Our Life and play a different game, Validate, which is an actual dating game, dating simulator. Days my usually live. And with this guy, usually Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday. These days I've been live a lot more to get help with cooking. I'll probably be live fairly regularly. Not going to be live Monday. But, Day of the Tentacle. Anyway, yeah, so I will be live again tomorrow evening. Tomorrow night. Not for a cooking video or anything like, not for a cooking stream. I've still got leftovers. So just a regular live again tomorrow. 7 days a week? No, not going to be doing 7-day a week streaming, I don't think. But, yeah. Tomorrow, probably just regular chilling out. Tomorrow, it'll probably just be regular chilling out. And, yeah. Well, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out, Hallelujah. But for now, yeah, for now, good night, everybody. Bye.